Ladies and gentlemen, would you please rise for the playing of
the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast
with your host, the 2023 IBWAA Podcast Host of the Year, Jana, and her big brother, Jeff. Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast, we are back. Yes.
I have power.
Even though one of us has like a fourth world power grid they live under.
It's awful. We had what happened was we had a freak storm. So it was beautiful all day. It was sunny, blue skies. And then all of a sudden, it's just brown. It's like dark. You could see dirt was because we live in the desert, the high desert. Anyway, and it was just blowing. And then the next thing, so windy. And then the next thing hail. And it started out as pea size, and then it got to pebble pea size, not quite golf ball, but almost to that size. And pouring down rain. And then the power went out, and it was out for quite a while. So we got it the next morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just recently it went out again for a little bit, right?
Yeah. And I don't know why that happened.
That was probably just because you forgot to pay your power bill.
Right. Yeah. I don't know what happened. I think the issue that we have here is they need to bury the power lines. That seems to be what needs to happen. Well,
I can attest to that nobody has grass that I'm aware of in your neighborhood that I can remember.
No, it's all like prairie grass.
Dirt, and whatever grows there grows. The backyard, well, you've got a lot of land.
Yes.
The backyard's dirt and tumbleweeds.
Yeah, I mean
something like that. I mean,
yeah, cholla tree. There's it's native. It's native grass.
Native, yes. You have gone en natural with your environment back there. Although my boy and your girl Beagle loved going out there when we were there. The only time that he came, which has been many, many years ago, like 10 years ago almost now that I think about it, 9 or 10. He loved running around in that backyard. He had paths that he was running and a fence. And they were pals.
Yeah.
Which made your other Beagle mad.
Right, because he was a little chunkier and couldn't keep up. I think that was.
And he didn't like that his sister and their cousin were getting along so well.
Yeah, he felt he was the third wheel.
Getting left out. Anyway, lots to talk about today. No reason to be going off on rants about about your yard situation. But ton, because we got 2 weeks of stuff we're going to kind of overview. Some things we'll get a little deeper into than other things. We want to talk about the College World Series, which has now wrapped up. We'll talk about what happened there. We'll also talk about, the passing of Willie Mays. And we'll do that in conjunction with the game at Rickwood Field in Birmingham, Alabama. We'll do that in Around Baseball, but and if we miss anything that you wanted us to talk about or you'd like to hear us go over, hit us up on our social media. We're on Twitter at Sibling Rivalry BB without the A.
And on Facebook and Instagram at Sibling Rivalry BB with the A.
And then on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com. Check out the Fanatics links. There are 4th of July hats and the All-Star caps have come out. And maybe we'll talk about those somewhere along the way as well. And you know what? One thing that we do need to do, and maybe we'll just tuck that in with the Dodger segment, City Connects. So we got all of that and a whole lot more. So I think, as Vin would say,
it's time for Dodger baseball.
Thanks, Vin. It is time for Dodger baseball. 2 weeks worth, 4 series, and they won 2, lost 1, and split the other. And we get to the Angels. They did something similar, just in a different order. Dodgers started off a couple weeks ago with Texas, and Texas in there at home at Dodger Stadium. And first game, Texas hasn't had a really great season so far overall. They've had issues. They made a choice after the World Series to kind of let some guys go. We'll talk about Jordan Montgomery or mention Jordan Montgomery coming up, who was a key part of their World Series team last year, who is now in Arizona, and other guys that are going. They've had some issues with some injuries and stuff like that, but they're just not the team that they were last year. So it felt like maybe Dodgers would be in a good spot and everything would be fine coming out of this first game. But I don't know. Something else happened.
Yeah, the first game was a 15-2 win for the Dodgers. So you think, oh, the Dodgers are going to cruise.
Isn't it obligatory to say blowout?
I guess, yeah.
I think by
15-2
law,
Blowout. Yes, I'm sorry.
15.
I will pay that
I just don't
fine.
want you to get in trouble. I don't
Right.
want the podcast.
Maybe I'll get a
folks to
warning this time.
show up there. It depends on who's in charge.
So I'm going to write blowout so I remember that. Yes, 15-2 blowout. It was like batting practice for the Dodgers in the sixth inning. They have a 7-run sixth inning there. They had Shohei had a home run. Freddie Freeman, Teoscar Hernandez, and Jason Hayward all had home runs in that inning. There's not a whole lot to say about this game. Corey Seager didn't play in this game. He had been listed as day-to-day with hamstring. He had a nice ovation from nice welcoming back to Dodger Stadium. And they had a nice tribute for him. But he didn't play in this first game.
That's the first time they've been back, or he's been back.
Yes.
As a Ranger. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. I saw that, but I don't know why I didn't think that automatically.
Well, you would think, he's been with the Rangers, and so you would think, oh yeah, that's probably happened, but no, it hadn't. So
no, you figure because the last time he went to the Rangers in 21.
Yeah, that's true.
So 22, 23. And, last season, the Dodgers played the Rangers in Arlington.
Right.
For that. And the season before, they didn't play him at all, I don't think. So, because last year we started with that balanced schedule. The year before the years before that, it was, Dodgers were probably playing the Central and the East AL divisions.
Yeah. So in this game, like I said, lots of home runs. James Paxton had a good night on the mound. He pitched 6 innings, another good outing for him. Something that the Dodgers really need is good pitching. As we will get through this Dodger segment, you'll see why. But the next 2 games for the Dodgers, they weren't blowouts on the Rangers' part, but there were just things that happened for the Dodgers that made you think, okay, things need to change. There needs to be, something needs to happen here. Game 2, the Dodgers end up losing the second and third game. Second game 3-2, and the third game 3-1. But in that second game, Shohei hits a home run in the first inning. Then Corey Seager, who is playing in this game, hits a go-ahead 3-run homer. The Dodgers had the opportunity to tie the game, but Andy Pages was called out at the plate after running through Dino Ebel's stop sign. Now, Pages says he never saw the stop sign. He said he saw the center fielder bobble the ball, and he just was running. So, I don't...
Yeah, that ignorance is not an excuse.
Right.
Just like if you run a stop sign. Oh, I never saw it. Oh, okay. Since you didn't see it, we'll let you go.
Yeah,
now,
it's okay.
Dino Ebel is the stop sign. You got to be watching. And he's not the only one to ever do that.
No.
Round a base with his head down, trying to get there. Shohei did it once with the Angels. He did it early in the season with the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Coming around second base, head down, thinking he could make third, but they had stopped Mookie
Mm-hmm.
and then he couldn't get back in time.
Right.
So it's like you gotta always, what do they say? Heads up. And a lot of times they're saying that because you don't want to get hit in the head with a ball when somebody throws it at you. But you have to play heads up baseball, and that's it, because you don't know. Just because he bobbled it doesn't mean it was a he lost it completely.
Yeah, anyway. He didn't drop it or anything like that. So that ended, I guess, a sour note there with Pages. And Pages is a really good player, but have you ever seen him smile? I've never seen him smile.
No,
I don't know. It's like he seems kind of angry all the time.
Well, maybe that's what's making him play better.
Maybe, if that's what it is, continue.
One thing that I saw in those last two games too, when I looked at the box score, for the most part, a bunch of zeros.
Oh yeah.
Other than at bats, nobody really getting any hits. Pages, in one of the games had a couple of hits. Shohei overall, with the exception of the last game, had gotten hits in each game. But
yeah, the offense was flat. And in the second game, Walker Buehler is on the mound, and he does pitch 5 innings, but, had given up 7 hits. And he just, those first 2 outings, especially I think maybe the first outing he had coming back for Tommy John, it looked promising. And now it just looks labored. He just doesn't look like he's comfortable on the mound. There's something going on. But so the Dodgers end up losing this series versus Texas. In the third game, it was a bullpen game for the Dodgers. And two things happened. Actually, I guess one thing happened twice in the second game and the third game. David Robertson, who pitches for the Rangers, he became the first pitcher to strike out Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, and Freddie Freeman in the same inning this season. He did that in the second game. He did it again in the third game. And that's where you get those zeros, because they just weren't
David
hitting.
Robertson looked like he was, Cy Young right there. Walter Johnson. He was one of the greatest pitchers ever.
Yeah.
Thanks to that. So, and of course, everybody's kind of wondering, are we going back into this again? Are the Dodgers, and it's interesting, yesterday they were talking on one of the local sports talk stations, was why people react to the Dodgers the way they do. And that the sky falls every time the Dodgers lose a series.
Every time.
Or, they should have won that one. And it's over. And here's the one thing. Most people are like upset because they know this is where it's gonna lead us to failing in the playoffs. Well, right now the Dodgers are on track for a 100-win season. It's not as if they're not quite 20 games over 500. So it's not as if they're not winning their fair share. The problem, I think, this year is that it feels like, number one, they should go 162-0 with all the money they spent.
True.
But remember,
right?
The money that they spent primarily, the first $1 billion was on 3 pitchers, and one of them was 70% of that. I'm upset with what's happening with the Angels, but I always find a silver lining somewhere. And the Dodgers don't need that. The Dodgers, everybody's just clutching their pearls because the Dodgers lost a couple of games.
Right. I think in this next series with Kansas City that we're going to talk about, I think this series would be a time for people to really maybe clutch their pearls just because of what happened. But yeah, no, I agree. I think overall, not just Dodger fans, but just MLB in general, it's like, what are the Dodgers doing? They lost a game. They did this. They lost this series. And it wasn't, that first game was a blowout, but the next 2 games, the second game, they could have come back to win. But if you have a base running mistake and somebody tries to be a hero or try to, they want to help their team, and they get the third out, there's nothing you can do about that.
little
And
overly aggressive or something like that. And yeah, that's the whole thing. These games that we're doing of the 162, you don't have to win them all.
right.
It's not like, football. Well, not even NFL, college football. Where
Mhm.
college football, you just don't want a loss because that could end your national championship hopes.
Right.
But in this case, the problem for the Dodgers is not making it through the normal, the regular season. The problem for the Dodgers is that they turn off their baseball ability come October.
Right. And we
They don't
need
hit.
them. Yeah. So if they're not going to hit in a game against the Rangers in June, I'm okay with that as long as they hit in October.
Yeah, let's say, and maybe that's what they're doing. They're just not putting so much pressure on every game now. It doesn't matter whether you win, depending, as long as you get into the playoffs. If it took you 89 wins to make it to the playoffs, then it took 89 wins. Who cares?
Right.
You know.
Well, yeah, at this point, because we can look at around baseball, we can look at the wild card and see who's close in the wild card right now. I know it's early, but I think it's telling.
I agree. I agree.
So,
all right. So Casey in the house, Bobby Witt Jr., probably an all-star who's really been doing well. Salvador Perez, of course. And then, of course, one of our favorite all-time baseball names, we did this a couple seasons ago, Mr. Pasquantino.
Oh, yeah.
Was playing first base for that. So what did you see?
So
Cole
first,
Reagan, I know, took over, was the first pitcher out of the gate for them, who's been pretty decent.
Yeah, and in this first game, the Dodgers do win this first game. Gavin Stone is on the mound. Can't say enough about Gavin Stone as part of this rotation. Really a bright spot. Pitches 7 innings, gives up only 4 hits, does give up a home run. But the Dodgers did rally to beat Kansas City. They had a go-ahead 2-out RBI single. I think it was Freddie Freeman that hit that in the 8th inning. So they're making it exciting. Sometimes a little too exciting for some, for your heart, if you're at home watching. But they win this first game. You're like, okay, Dodgers are back. They got it going on. I would really focus on the second 2 games. The Dodgers do end up winning this series. They lose the second game, but the second game, Yoshinobu Yamamoto is on the mound. He only pitches 2 innings, and you see frantic, what's going on in the dugout. And Mark Pryor comes running up to Dave Roberts, who doesn't say, says some not motivational buzzwords, but that's what it was. Because I guess before the game, Yamamoto, or even before during the week, had said that he felt in his arm something. He wasn't sure, like some tightness. It just didn't feel right. He wasn't sure if it was just a muscle, whatever. Said he could go on, said he could pitch. He starts this game, ends up only pitching 2 innings, and then is taken out due to, at the time, tricep tightness, is what we were told.
Mm-hmm.
So really, I think the story of this second game belongs to MJ Melendez of the Royals, who had a 12-pitch battle with Blake Trinan. Blake Trinan had loaded the bases. Melendez fouled off 6 straight pitches with a 2-2 count, and then Trinan threw a cutter inside. Melendez hits a grand slam. And that's the end. That
was it. Blown save, and Blake takes the loss in that one.
Yeah, he looked really in that game. Blake Trinan did not. It seemed like in that game when you were watching it, obviously you're concerned about Yamamoto. Blake Trinan looked off. It just looked. They win. They lost that game, but their offense was off too. It was just there was something. It was just not a good omen of a game.
Yeah, I wonder too, if you come in, you're all behind your pitcher, and then something like that happens, especially one of your main starters who's been really playing well, pitching well.
Yeah.
If it just kind of threw everybody off, because now you're thinking, geez, what
Yeah, I think
what
that's
happened? How can we, what are we going to do here? And
yeah, I think that's a good observation, because you don't know you want they're your teammate, so you want them to be okay, and you don't really know what's going on because you're on the field. And yeah, I think that could throw things off. But yeah, that's the tale of the game. There is the grand slam. And then the next game, Tyler Glasnow is on the mound. He had 9 strikeouts, pitches 7 innings. Shohei hits 2 home runs in this game, but that is not the main point of this game. Yes, the Dodgers win 3-0, but Mookie Betts gets hit on the hand, goes down in pain. You knew something was up. Normally he's pretty tough. And
he was having a hard time getting up. I mean,
Yeah.
he just was laying there. He just couldn't get himself. And even when they got him up on his feet, the pain in his hand was enough that he was having a hard time even just walking.
Yeah.
And I know that seems like, well, 2 different parts, but that's how bad the pain was based on what I saw, because I saw it happen.
Yeah. So that right there, yes, the Dodgers win, but Mookie is out for the season with a not for the season. Sorry. Why did I just say? Why did I say that? Did I just jig
6 weeks instead of for the season?
Yeah, 6 to 8 weeks is what
Probably. Yeah. It started at 4 to 6. And then once they got a better look at it, 6 to 8.
But not
and I would
for
say
the
8
season.
is probably probably more likely.
It's fractures, I would imagine, in your hand. You use your hands all the time. So everything has to be immobilized, and
right.
It's gotta.
Your thought when that happened, or when you heard it happened. What was your thought about as far as the Dodgers were concerned? Obviously, you feel bad for Mookie because he's working hard. He's always a hard worker, but he's trying to overcome the criticisms and his own self-criticism, because he's harder on himself than any of us could be at shortstop. But he's been working through all of that.
Yeah,
would have been an all-star starter. It looks like, from what I've seen.
Yeah.
So what was your thought as far as the Dodgers goes? Because in 2 days, you've lost 2 key pieces who have contributed quite a bit.
Yeah.
In all of their outings.
Yeah. First thing when I saw it, it was, oh no, this is horrible, because you just knew that there was something obviously not right. It wasn't just, he got hit in the hand. And then it was like, we're going to be without Mookie's bat. And then I thought, will the Dodgers make a trade somewhere, somehow, for a good shortstop? Not just somebody that plays shortstop, but a good shortstop.
And I saw that same idea around. And of course, the people who really hated it, that are hollering for this to be the end of that experiment.
Yeah.
That this forces the Dodgers to have to do something.
Yeah. I think I heard that too. That, the Dodgers are going to have to do something, but they don't have to at this point, because you have Miguel Rojas, who, despite his age, in your late 30s, you're coming up on, you've been playing a long time, but he still is a very good defensive shortstop. And this year, offensively, he has done well at the plate. So,
and the Dodgers have not lost a game then he's gotten a hit in.
Right. Yeah. So
now, do you take a chance on Lux going back to short?
No, that never crossed my mind to think, because of the issues he was having in spring training, and he hasn't, as far as I know, I don't know if he takes grounders, if he does, if beforehand, if he's out there at shortstop. or if it's mainly just second base. And that's kind of where he is.
If I was him and I felt like, and maybe he's just accepted that he's just not going to be a shortstop. But if I really wanted, I'd be out taking, balls at shortstop, and I'd be talking to Dave or the infield coach, whatever. I'd be talking to Dino.
Right.
I'd be talking to these guys and say, hey, I really want another shot, and go out there and try to overachieve. And if it falls apart, you haven't lost much if you just give him a 2 or 3 game, vignette to see if he's coming back around. And then if he picks it up and becomes that guy that they keep saying is there, that's something special in the box and we got to keep him, maybe then Mookie goes to second, which might be easier on him coming back off of that injury.
Right. Especially that's the big question too, is when Mookie comes back, will he go back to shortstop, or because of the type of injury he had, even though he'll be back, you still have to be careful with, he's throwing. I mean, he's right-handed, but you're still, he's got the glove on. He's got to be careful. And at second base, that might be the better move for him. I don't see Lux going to shortstop, but I think you're right. If you really want to stay with the team, want to make an impact, then you're going to say, hey, I want that second. I want another shot at shortstop. He was a shortstop, but
yeah, that's what he came up as.
Yeah. So how do you lose all of that? I don't know. There's a lot of guys, a lot of people who I think you either love Gavin Lux or you don't. I don't know of anybody in between. So Dodgers end up winning this series against Kansas City, but it was at a cost, with the loss of Yamamoto going on the IL and Mookie Betts going on the IL and being out 6 to 8 weeks. So Dodgers travel to Colorado, and there were some crazy games in Colorado, which I guess kind of just seems to be the way it is at Coors Field. First game, they win. They beat the Rockies 9-5. James Paxton, once again, 7 innings pitched, another really good outing. Dodgers need these outings by, like I say in Gavin Stone, by James Paxton. Had 8 strikeouts. What's the shakeup in the batting order? Mookie Betts always led off. Shohei Ohtani takes over that spot. So it's Shohei, Will Smith, Freddie Freeman, and in his first outing as the leadoff in this game, he was 3 for 5 with an RBI. So a good outing for the Dodgers in Colorado. Second game, that was the crazy game. Now, I always have to go back and watch these games later because I'm in the blackout zone for the Rockies, even though I live 6 hours from Denver. This one, the Rockies were ahead. And again, the Dodgers were losing 7-2 after 4 innings. And Walker Buehler's on the mound. He only pitches 4 innings, gives up 7 hits and 7 runs, 2 home runs. And I think at that point, that's when you started hearing, is Walker Buehler going to go on the IL? Something going to happen with Walker Buehler?
Yeah.
Is he going to be pulled? Is he going to go in the bullpen? What's going to happen with him?
Well, when you start watching him too, something that, and we could talk about this later, but something I'm noticing, like Walker Buehler really brought it up. I think a lot of these guys who, threw hard, Walker Buehler's fastball is slow now compared to others. Low 90s, which most of us aren't going to see it in the low 90s. We're not used to that. That's pretty quick, coming just 60 feet away.
Right.
He's had to figure out how to throw other pitches to be successful because his fastball is not. And I think that what we're going to start seeing, and we're going to talk about this too, because The Angels have a couple of pitchers that are on different ends of things right now. That one seems to be that seems to have sunk in with him. And we'll talk about that when we get to the Angels. But I think we're at a point with all of these injuries that these guys need to learn how to pitch, not just how to throw hard, not just how to put, they all want to put 4,000 RPM spin rate on the ball. That's not going to happen unless you've got the go-go gadget arm that'll allow you to just twist it all around. It's not going to happen.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I think for Walker Buehler, this is second Tommy John surgery that he's had. And you have to learn how to pitch again. And the pitches that were your bread and butter are not anymore. And so it's taking him some time to figure this out. But in this game, like I said, the Dodgers were losing, but the Dodgers did something that no other MLB team has done, and that is they are the first team in Major League Baseball history to hit both the grand slam, thanks to Jason Hayward, and a 3-run home run, thanks to Teoscar Hernandez, while trailing in the 9th inning or later in the same game.
Wow.
Yeah. But this was a controversial home run for Teoscar Hernandez because it was a check swing. First base, they appealed to the first base umpire. He said he did not go around. I didn't think he did from the angles I could see, but it's one of those things. If you're a Rockies fan, yes, he definitely went around. If you're a Dodgers fan, no, he did not.
Definitely did not, right?
Yeah. So, and then on the next pitch, that's when Teoscar hits his 3-run home run. And there's a guy who sounds like he would just be like an insurance salesman playing on a softball league. I'm not saying Jake Cave, who plays right field for Colorado, was crazy about that call. And then obviously the subsequent home run, and was yelling and screaming obscenities. Yeah. I'm surprised he didn't
went sideways.
Yeah. And there's an account that's like Statbox Facts. So it's, it's not, they're not true, but they're super funny. And he's
parody
accounts. And it said, Jake Cave is the first Major League player to yell "F-U" 10,600, 36 times in a single game at an umpire. So, yeah.
Yeah, he was just, even if you didn't see what he was saying, he comes away from the fence and he is just ranting.
Livid.
Yelling. And I didn't even see, I saw it without sound. It was just like, and anybody talking about what's going on, he was definitely upset. Good old Jake Cave, former White Sox, former Marlin.
Yeah, he's been around, but I mean, I don't know, it's just that name, Jake Cave, your local State Farm insurance agent. I don't know.
That's right. And leads the local beer league.
I don't know.
Whatever. Yeah, it was, you're right. 4 home runs in that game. As far as craziness goes, Walker Buehler put them in a position to lose.
Yes.
And this is the one thing where I find that maybe I don't want to see Mookie out from the standpoint of, because he's a good guy. You want to see him play, he contributes. But as far as the Dodgers are concerned, it really makes them take more stock into what they have and how would they replace somebody of his caliber. Yeah. And how could they do that? Obviously, Shohei moving up, just in 2 games already seems to be paying off because he had a home run in that game, too.
He did. He was 2 for 5 and he had 2 RBIs. And I think you're right. This is something we've been talking about is they need to shake up the lineup. Now, obviously, we didn't want them to have to shake up the lineup because Mookie Betts has a fractured hand. But the shakeup just with Shohei at the top, will he, when Mookie comes back, will he stay at the top? Will Mookie come in at number 2, and then Freddie. I don't know.
Put Will and Teoscar back into the 4 and 5 slots.
Yeah.
That's a question. And I asked you, do you leave him there? And you'll see as we're going, this is the first series that he's done this at. And we have one other series, to go after this one, short Freeway Series. And I just don't see, if he continues on, if all of a sudden he kind of falls off in this next week or two before the All-Star break, then maybe you start thinking, what else can we do? But yeah, we'll see. So yeah, that was a crazy game. The 11-9, 4 home runs, 7 runs in the top of the 9th for the Dodgers. As you said, you talked about where they got all those runs, but it was already 7-2 in the 4th inning.
Yeah.
And then in the 6th and the 7th, both the Dodgers and Rockies scored again. The Rockies ended up, that's where they got their 9. So if the Dodgers don't, turn it on and get those 7 runs, they don't win this game. And I think a lot of people going up to the 7th figured, oh man, how did we lose to the Rockies?
Yeah. You're thinking, what in the world? So crazy game. The next game, Dodgers do lose this game 6-7. The Rockies had their outfielder, I think Brenton Doyle, who made some really good, I think it's a center fielder, made some really good plays in this series, had a walk-off sac fly. But in this game, Shohei doubled. He singled. He had 3 RBIs. This is Bobby Miller's first game back after being on the IL. Pretty much what we saw in his rehab starts. He pitched 6 1/3 innings, gave up 6 hits, 5 runs, 3 walks, 2 strikeouts. So,
are you going to give him a break because it's the first one back, and like everybody around was like, well, it's tough to pitch in Denver, which okay, sure it is, but
I didn't think, I wasn't, this sounds bad, but I wasn't expecting much from Bobby Miller because his rehab starts have not been good. They're not good. So other than, yes, he gives the Dodgers length as far as innings pitched, it does put more pressure on the offense to make sure they're where they need to be, despite how Bobby Miller pitches, or Walker Buehler for that matter pitches. I don't know. I'm not sure if we have he comes back. It was his shoulder. They seem to think everything's good, but I guess we'll see in his next outing. If he gets better, but
I didn't get to see what he was saying. There was an interview with him, but I wasn't able to turn up the volume at that point. So I didn't catch what he had said when they asked him about it. I'm looking through his game logs from last year, because this year is so limited anyway.
Yeah.
But looking at his game logs from last year, he only pitched in Colorado once last year.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only time. So this is only his 2nd time pitching in Denver.
I mean, I think maybe, if you look at it that way, this is the 2nd time. It is, it's not a pitcher's ballpark. And maybe that wasn't fair for him to have to pitch there his first game back.
And I'm sure they put it there because it's the Rockies. If they could have pitched him against the A's, they would have rather done that, or the White Sox. Would have been a prime place for him to start, which he probably will, and coming up, because they have to play the White Sox this season at some point. So I don't know. I mean, I didn't know that what I really expected from him. I don't know that I was expecting much, just because his rehab starts were not great. Yeah, they were below average.
They were. Next game, Dodgers win this game. It's the final game of this series. 5-3, they win. Gavin Stone is on the mound. He only pitches 5 1/3 innings, but still gives them some of that length they need. Gives up 4 hits. Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, and Shohei Ohtani all had home runs in this game.
I was looking at something if Shohei continued on the path that he's on now, as far as
Mhm.
home runs and that stuff. Potentially, he could hit over 100 home runs for the season, over 162 game season, and drive in over 200 runs.
Wow. Yeah.
So, and he's approaching 60 RBIs already, I think.
Yeah, I think he's close. Yeah, in this series, he was 3 for 5, 2 for 5, and 1 for 3. So he definitely leading off looks good on him.
So the Dodgers bail out of Denver, probably happy to be on their way back home. And they're probably happy, too, because they get just a short 2-game set versus their the AAA team down the road. Exhibition game, right?
Yeah, right. Well, but the Angels did something that they hadn't done in a while in this first game. So
Win?
yeah,
Exactly.
like
Yeah,
what?
they
won.
The Angels won, breaking the streak of games. I don't even remember what the number was.
10 games,
something like that. 10 straight that the Dodgers had beat them at Dodger Stadium.
Right.
So yeah, they
well, and the first game went to innings, and of course, everybody.
Why don't we combine both? So we'll talk both Angels and Dodger stats.
Sounds good.
Just wipe this out, and then we'll just talk about the 3 series for the Angels.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. So a lot of talk with this game being the first regular season game that Shohei is facing his local. I just looked at your cup. It said local. His former team.
Oh yeah, that's my iced tea from McDonald's, locally owned and
I
operated.
saw local and I'm like, that what? His local team. Okay. His former team, lots of eyes on Shohei. And like I said, this game goes extra innings. So, not a bad game, obviously not a bad game. If it goes extra innings, goes to innings. Angels end up winning this game 3-2, and Shohei does hit a home run against his former team, but something happens for the Angels, and it's not a good thing.
I would just like to pat myself on the back because I called this out as soon as I heard. I didn't even have to watch him pitch, but as soon as I heard this, Patrick Sandoval discovered in the offseason and spring training the sweeper. Well, if you remember last year,
You should have run away.
Shohei was throwing a lot of sweepers, like more than 50% of his pitches, and had an issue.
Yes.
Other pitchers throwing the sweeper, having an issue with their elbows. Patrick Sandoval, you saw it. I don't know exactly what happened, but you saw him, and I saw it in the highlights.
Yes.
Him releasing a pitch and just like jumping up and down, holding his elbow, and he was in
pain. He was grimacing, and yeah, it was the pitch he threw to Ohtani, and as soon as he throws it, he's like, holding his elbow, and you knew it was not good.
Right.
And it isn't.
2 1/3 is what he goes. He'd only given up 2 hits at that point, so it seemed like he was pitching all right.
Yeah.
But that was the end of it, and he's done.
That's it. Yeah.
You could bring him up again. I'm sure he's on the wheel because he's on in the Tommy John area.
Yes, he's in the wing.
So we'll go with that later. But anyway, he's done. Hunter Strickland comes in and shuts down the rest of the inning before Matt Moore came in to give up 2 runs. He had been doing okay, but nope. And then Ben Joyce, who I want to talk about a little bit later in the Angel segment, comes in. But yeah, it's Carlos Estevez gets it because they are able to hold the Dodgers to just the 2 runs. Landon Knack started, and it almost, even though he goes 5, they end up throwing 4 relievers from the Dodger side. So it doesn't really Yeah, it's kind of a bullpen game.
Yeah,
Really,
it
when I
kind of
look at it
is.
from that
And Landon Knack, because of Yamamoto being out, uh, potentially Walker Bueller, then Landon Knack is in there to stay for the potential foreseeable future. He's going to be in the rotation somehow. So but is it, yes, he's a starter, but he's going to only go, he's going to be limited to X amount of pitches, 75 pitches, 80, whatever. I guess we'll see. But yeah, it was, for all,
Ryan
it's a de
Yarbrough.
facto. Yeah.
What was going on there? He hit 3 batters.
I know. It was ridiculous.
And then Johan Ramirez comes in and hits one himself. 4 hit batters in this game.
4 hit batters. Yeah.
It was ugly.
Ridiculous. And I was texting you about, I was on about Ryan Yarbrough's dumb, like he has this, I guess he's trying to grow a mustache, but he has lighter hair. So it just looks like you want to wipe it off, like he's got a smudge over his lip. And then he was hitting batters, and I'm like, and he needs to get rid of that dumb mustache.
Yep. So they, the Angels, who, by the way, we didn't really mention it, but Biggio, Kevin Biggio, we did mention it, I think last time, picked up and has actually been playing pretty well for the Dodgers. Whether he's played a fair amount of third base.
Yeah.
And because Max is still not back. The ghost runner came in to score in innings. That would have been Joe Adele. Thanks to Taylor Ward, who pretty much ran everything today, or in that game, singled him in, and then they were able to stop the Dodgers from doing anything. And so we head to Saturday, because that's Friday. We head to Saturday. Both teams are getting the Sunday off.
Yeah.
Which is rare. They did it last season and the season before too, but they got to do it again this season. So they're 2 games set, and they're off for that. So we get the Saturday game, and the Saturday game, things turned around.
Things turned around for the Dodgers. The Dodgers end up winning this game 7-2. I think, again, Glasnow on the mound. When I hear that he's going to be pitching, I usually have a hopeful, like this is going to be a good game. Lately, because before he would pitch really well and the offense didn't do anything, but I think he has straightened them out. He pitches 7 innings, 10 strikeouts again, and I would say he's a very early. I don't even know early. He is a favorite Cy Young. I think
he's got to be one of the tops for the National League without really looking close at everybody else. What's his name? Mitch Keller out of Pittsburgh would be somebody which is kind of funny because Glasnow was a Pirate at one time. So his competition will be. I mean, the Angels, they just scored the 2 runs thanks to a home run from Logan O'Hoppe, and Sean Ewell got driven in by Mickey Moniak, who they're giving a lot of space to, trying to get him his at-bats and see if they can bring him around. He's had a lot of problems, but lately, at least in this series, he had some spots.
Yeah, for the Dodgers, talked about Gavin Lux. Gavin Lux did have a home run in this game, and Shohei Ohtani hit a home run, and they were both part of a 4-run 3rd inning for the Dodgers. And Ohtani's home run on Friday was 455 feet. And this time it was 459 feet. So
wow.
With 115.5 miles per hour exit velocity. And I know you know, but if you've never seen Shohei Ohtani hit a home run, I'm sure you have. Who hasn't? Listen to, when it's a home run, listen to how it comes off the bat. The sound.
Close your eyes.
Just close your eyes. Don't.
The first time. the first time that you go to look at a video of it, hit play, close your eyes, and then just listen to it.
Yeah,
And I've seen him in person hit home run, so I felt it.
Right. But that's good. Find a video, won't be hard to do, of Shohei Ohtani hitting a home run like this one where it was 459 feet. Close your eyes and just listen, because immediately. It is I think it's probably one of the most distinct sounds of a player that I can think of in MLB.
Yeah, that's pretty fair. Yeah, he's just been, since he's taken off in the leadoff spot, he's just been on fire.
Yeah, I think he should stay. He needs to stay there.
And he hit that off of Zach Plesac, who was in his second start since getting called back up from Salt Lake City. And he didn't have a great outing this time. We'll talk more about his last outing when we get to the Angels section. Only going 3 1/3, giving up 6 runs on 7 hits, and those 2 home runs to Lux and to Ohtani. And Lux, I think he was just he didn't know what to do with himself after he hit his home run. It was just like, oh my God, I hit a home run.
Yeah,
and everybody else was like, surprise! How about that?
You hit a home run. Well, and he even looks like when he gets on base after he hits anything. And they do their little, like they do kind of like jazz hands.
They do the Freddie.
Yeah. And then they do this other thing. And it has to do with, it's a anime, Dragon Ball Z, I think is what that's from.
Okay.
With Shohei. And because Gavin Lux doesn't hit a lot, he doesn't really know. He's not the only one. Chris Taylor, like they just don't. They're awkward. They're like, which way do I go? I don't know.
Right. They got no rhythm.
Got no rhythm. That's exactly right. So Dodgers split the series, this 2-game series with the Angels, and Shohei looking good in the leadoff spot. Dave Roberts said, I think this is dumb. Dave Roberts said, knowing that Shohei can hit there feels comfortable, even though Mookie is obviously our leadoff hitter, but you navigate left, right, right, left. It's a good conversation. Why does Mookie have to be the leadoff hitter? Because Mookie has, I'm not saying that obviously Shohei isn't going to have a point where he's hitting leadoff and he doesn't get a hit, but does Mookie have to be the leadoff hitter all the time? Because there's been times where Mookie's been on fire and then he's just is completely flat, just fallen off.
Right, and maybe just making that change when he's down and just swapping him. Maybe he goes to number 2 for a little bit.
Yeah,
maybe drops down to 5.
Yeah.
It's not for guys like Mookie. I don't think he's offended by that.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think he'd be like, okay, I'm back. Put me where I'm supposed to, where I'm supposed to be, except for shortstop. Don't put me there.
Right.
I don't know. I think overall the Dodgers decent. There were times where they did look flat, but for the Dodgers in general, just, I guess, it's interesting to see how they came back, resiliency wise, when you lose 2 big players in your dugout that are difference makers. Hopefully Yamamoto isn't going to be out. He'll be out the 15 days, probably a little bit longer, just because that's usually how it goes, based on rehab and when he can start throwing and things like that. Mookie, we know, is going to be out at least 8 weeks. So I think in a way you go back and look at it, when you see it, it's like, oh no, this guy's falling. We lost Mookie Betts. The Dodgers stink. And that's because you think all just one player. But now I think no one should have to having a fractured anything is not fun. But maybe this was a good thing for Mookie.
Well, and the Dodgers in general, I think.
Right. I mean, I think all players should wear a padded batting glove for their because like Shohei wears it. Justin Turner, who had a fracture, that happened to him, and afterwards he wears that pad. I don't know if there's a name for it, but it's a padded. So if a ball hits, you're not, it's not going to fracture your hand. But yeah, I think for the Dodgers to going into the season thinking they spent all this money, they have a superstar lineup, and then pieces start falling. So what do you do? How do you remain a contender, but with the pieces you have? Obviously, for Kike Hernandez and Chris Taylor, they're going to have more playing time, which could be a good thing. They're both still good defensively. Chris Taylor is getting there offensively, and Kike Hernandez too. So, there might be... That would be good for them because going into the postseason, you're going to need those guys at some point.
I think it also there's a couple other places too, obviously with him. And then when you look at the Yamamoto, so the Dodgers have to focus. What do we need? Do we need to get a true shortstop?
Mm-hmm.
And if they do that, we don't know that, Kike or Chris Taylor are sticking around at that point.
Yes.
But the other thing is how I think we were all really concerned about the infield dynamics, because we didn't know how that was going to play out. And then we weren't so worried about the bullpen, but I do believe they need to bolster that a little bit. But now this idea that we have so much coming back for the pitching staff. Yoshi's down. Maybe not any big deal. Maybe just some time off to do that. He's pitching in his first, season in the MLB, little different workload, things like that. But Bobby Miller, we got to wait and see, obviously, if he's going to come back around. But what if he doesn't?
Mm-hmm.
Walker Buehler has not looked, with the exception of maybe one outing, he's not looked like he's coming back. Clayton Kershaw, who at one time we were talking about him, was ahead of schedule. Now is he maybe to schedule now because they shut him down for a little bit?
Right.
Or is he slightly behind? Is he coming back about the same time? We don't know. And we still don't even know if he's going to pitch well when he comes back, because we don't know what the effect, his injury had. Yeah. So do we look for... Glass now obviously has been pretty good. Gavin Stone's been above and beyond. Yoshi had been pitching pretty well. The Big Maple, I wanted to throw that in there, James Paxton. He's had moments where he's not looked great, but overall he's a good guy. He's an innings eater, and he's been solid enough that he can keep the other team down, even if the offense isn't having a great day. But do you need to find another starter, a little higher level starter than you would have thought of? Because we don't know what's going to happen with those three guys, Buehler, Miller, and Kershaw. So It's like Andrew Friedman now has to reassess as to what his team really needs. I don't necessarily need an outfielder now. My outfield is overall, not to say if Luis Robert Jr.'s available to be a center fielder that you're not going to maybe give him a shot. And not that I'm saying that Pages shouldn't, but we don't know what's going to happen with Pages either. If he's going to stay at this level or if he's going to drop off as he plays more into the season. He's a rookie. He's never played this much.
Right. You keep hearing, especially now, Luis Robert Jr. and Crochet. those two names coming up as a possible trade. They're they are the package, but what would the White Sox want for them? And then I keep hearing Randy Arozarena's name popping up as a potential trade for the Dodgers. And that one, for me right now, I think, and this has always been the case for the Dodgers, is pitching. They really need to have a solid pitching staff because, right now the ones you named, Glasnow, Stone, and Paxton, they are not going to be able. I mean, the way they're pitching, they need to continue pitching the way they're pitching. But what about the other? When they don't start, then who starts? Is it constantly going to be a bullpen game? That's not going to work because then you're going to stress your bullpen. And then when you need your bullpen, they're going to, it's just, I think pitching, as always, is the big need.
Yeah, pitching, and then you can look at and maybe filling in and getting somebody that is you don't necessarily need a superstar, shortstop. You don't need to go get Francisco Lindor.
No.
Now, if they'll give him up cheaply, go get him. But if not, get somebody that's in the middle. O'Neal Cruz.
Mm-hmm.
Something like that gives you a solid shortstop that's got some pop in his bat. Move, Mookie over to second, and then teach Lux how to play outfield as well, and get him working on that so he can be your utility guy if he doesn't get traded.
Right.
And that would be, there's just too many things, but now they're forced to look at it differently than they would have if nothing had happened.
Mm-hmm.
And it's better that it happens now. So
yes.
Both those guys are back and hopefully strong going into the last part of the season. And obviously it doesn't matter how strong they are. They got to learn how to hit in the postseason.
Yeah.
Keep your bats on in October.
Yes.
Don't rack everything up for the off season.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I had mentioned earlier, we talked about Luis Robert Jr. there. We also talked about Bobby Miller maybe pitching in Chicago. Well, that's where the Dodgers are headed. Mm-hmm. They played this early this week. We'll talk about that next week. And then Bobby, kind of homecoming. He's from that general area. So I didn't remember if he was pitching during their series or not. And then they're going to go up to San Francisco before heading back home. Players of the week. Who you got?
Before Players of the Week, let's really quickly, because the Dodgers unveiled their second City Connect during the...
You messed it up. We were supposed to tease it and then not pay it off.
Oh, right.
Anyway, but yeah, let's talk about the Dodgers being the first team to have a second City Connect.
Yeah, second City Connect. They debuted on that Saturday game versus the Angels. They said they wanted to pay homage to Los Angeles and the parts of history since moving from Brooklyn in 1958. So the typeface is inspired by the signage on the LA Memorial Coliseum. That is the first home of the Dodgers. They played there when they got there in 1958. And of course, the hashtag ITFDB. If you're a Dodger fan, you know what this means. It's time for Dodger baseball. Those are the words that are said before every Dodger game, thanks to Vin Scully. That is on the tag on the jersey. And then,
it's also spoken before every Dodger segment on the Sibling Rivalry Baseball
That is
podcast.
True, yes. The trademark LA interlocking logo and the swooping D, it all combines to form the LAD team code. And I like that. I like the the logo there. I think that looks pretty cool.
That's my favorite part of the whole thing. I mean, I like them having the it's time for Dodger baseball on there, but that's my favorite.
And the numbers are a little wonky. I think they're inspired by a mid-century typeface, and which was popular when the Dodgers moved from Brooklyn. I didn't know if you knew that or not. So instead of having just 5, it says 05. And the names of the players, instead of being at the top, like on their shoulder, in that shoulder back area, it's below the number. So that's a little odd. A lot of people said that the jersey, the fabric looks like a Pop-Tart, but it is not an homage to the Pop-Tart. It is.
Which is a shame.
It is.
Pop-Tarts need to have an homage.
They do.
There needs to be a Pop-Tart uniform.
It's a galaxy of stars, which is the color palette of Dodger Stadium. And the Dodgers are known for their Dodger blue, but the City Connect has cobalt and electric blue with a hint of chili red, which serves as a nod to the red number that's on their primary uniform. And the Dodgers are, like I said, the first team, as you said, to have 2 City Connects. I think between the two, when I first saw it, I'm like, okay. But once you see it on and they were playing, it didn't look too bad. And Tyler Glasnow, I think, said the same. He said, yeah, when I first saw it, all right, but I guess they have cool accessories like the jackets and things like that, the hats. That are pretty.
The hats
cool.
were my favorite. I get the whole idea about the stars because even though a lot of people thought, are you going to do the whole Hollywood thing?
Right.
And it's like, no, that's just a little thing. And that's something that came later, as far as LA is concerned. I got like the Los Angeles across the front, being how the Los Angeles is at the Coliseum, their first home and all that. So I got all that stuff. But the stars every day, and not so much now with a bus, but every day people arrive in Los Angeles looking to be a star.
Yes.
It's a dream city. And so doing that, I like the piping down the leg. The numbers I was okay with once I saw them on, not crazy about them.
Yeah.
But and then the name at the bottom's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's different. I mean, you have to, I guess, make your eye go. But it didn't look. I mean, it is obviously it's a City Connect, so it can be whatever, And the numbers on the back are not complete, so because of where the names are.
Right. I don't like, or not that I don't like, but I wish that in this case, where they did that down by that tag, I don't remember what they call it, but by the tag they did it's time for Dodger baseball.
Right.
So you've got that new logo on the hat, which looks good. They've got their Guggenheim Group is who their sponsorship is, which is funny because that's who owns them.
Right.
And then on the other patch, on the other side, they've got it sewn on that LA with the D, the same logo that's on the hat. I think on that sleeve, they should have put the ITFB.
Oh, yeah.
It's time for Dodger baseball.
That would have been cool.
ITFDB on the sleeve.
Yeah.
Vin Scully means more to that team and to baseball in general than having it down by the patch where nobody can see it.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. I think that would have been a good call, but nobody called you.
Nobody ever calls me. This is why I'm not in charge of anything, is because they know that I would do things better, and they can't deal with it.
They can't deal with it.
Player of the week. So overall, you're fine with these. I mean, they're not anything to write home about.
No, but I think just for whenever they didn't announce, like, some teams are like, oh, we're going to wear them every Friday home game. For the Dodgers, even with their first City Connects, they wore them, and then they wore them more when Julio Urias pitched.
Right.
That was kind of his uniform. But they haven't come out and said, okay, every, Thursday at home game, we're going to wear these.
In this case, a lot of teams come out in the very first Friday game or the very first home game after they announce and preview them. Then they're wearing them like the very first weekend home game.
Yeah.
And maybe the whole weekend. In this case, the Dodgers wore them for the first time on the Saturday game of this. So we'll see. And yeah, like you said, the other ones, the Los Dodgers jerseys were if Julio pitched at home, then they wore those uniforms.
Right. Yeah. So we'll see. But they weren't bad.
All
Not
right.
bad.
So players of the week.
Okay. So I know I could have gone with the obvious, and I could have gone with Shohei. That I think would be a given.
That was a giveaway.
But I think because of the state of the pitching rotation, I went with, and I can't remember if I probably have picked him before, but I'm going to pick him again. I went with Tyler Glasnow. I think he is right now, he is the leader of the pitching staff for the Dodgers, and he is really kind of dictating how everybody, how things are going. And so I went with Tyler Glasnow.
The first pitcher to wear the City Connects as well.
Yes.
Oddly, Shohei was a no-brainer.
Yes.
That's why I thought you'd go with it. But I went with Tyler Glasnow as well.
Hey.
0.64 ERA over his 2 starts over the games that the 2 weeks we talked about. 14 total innings pitch out of an 18 available, which has been good because he pushes it in and then takes a lot of pressure off of the bullpen. And he's still pitching good. 19 Ks, only walked 1 batter.
Yeah.
In all of those, gave up 1 home run and only 2 runs total. One of those was earned. So, great job. He is definitely the ace of the staff, and definitely somebody to watch. If he keeps this up, grabbing, I don't know if he has an AL Cy Young. I have to look that up, but I know he's in play right now for he's never won any Cy Youngs, but he's definitely in the running for the NL Cy Young as of now. All right, silver linings, the Angels. We're not completely to this full-time silver linings, I don't think. What do you think?
There might be some. There's got to be some.
Well, I mean, I think maybe after the All-Star game, we can kind of start looking at silver linings. Maybe is what I'm thinking. But regardless, the Angels had played 4 series in a row, or that we missed. And, of course, one of them we just talked about, it was their last series. They split with the Dodgers. We talked about what happened with Patrick Sandoval. We talked about, Taylor Ward did very well. Zach Neto had been doing okay, but then ends up leaving that game early with some sort of an injury issue. So, they didn't play badly, but if they'd have played to top, maybe they would have beat, well, the next day the Dodgers were pretty, so no, they wouldn't have beat them. Anyway, the Angels had, the 3 series, they lost 2 of the series, won 1. They were in Arizona, San Francisco, and then back home in Milwaukee. And Arizona played them just like you expect. Arizona's they've not been playing great.
Right.
But they they did to the Angels what you would think a team that has the talent that Arizona and some of the pitching. They've got, injury issues as well. Isn't it Zach Gallen out? Didn't I hear you say that on there? So Zach Gallen's out. They did face Jordan Montgomery. They lost the first one 9-4. Jose Suarez, after a couple of games where he seemed okay, went back to his normal 2024 self, and it was just crazy. And Jordan Montgomery, they faced there, and he locked him down to 6 hits and just 3 runs.
Well, and it's interesting about Jordan Montgomery because he was in the same situation as Blake Snell and getting signed late. And so I guess when he did win this game, was the winning pitcher for Arizona, because there have been times where he's been booed when he's come off the field. And he has also said signing so late and missing spring training has not been good. And I guess we can see that because he has an almost, his ERA is like a 6.58 or something like that.
Yeah, you're not even really hearing his name a lot. Even when he does start, normally the guys who have been the top pitchers, even you just hear, oh, so-and-so started today. And you may not even anymore be paying attention to that game, and you're not hearing that for him. And obviously not with Blake Snell, who is completely off the rails.
Yeah.
So Michael Stefanik, who had just got called up on the 11th of June, 2 for 5. Taylor Ward has been stepping up to do some things to keep things going. 2-run home run in that game, but that's all that they could do to get 4 runs in that loss. The one game that they did win was the middle game of the set. So they did have a chance to win the series if they could have gone into game 3. Jose Soriano back pitching well, 8 innings in that game. Just gave up 2 runs on 5 hits, struck out 5. Shanuel and Zetto with 3 hits each. Zetto had a home run. Adele had a 2-run home run. I only say that because that's the silver lining for him. For some reason, just like the Dodgers are with Lux, the Angels are with Adele. And his batting average is under 200 again. He's not hitting that well. So he's not playing as much. Washington says, hey, you're going to play. Don't worry about it. Because they can't send him down anyway. They got to put him on waivers to send him down. And that opens him up to being traded, to being picked up, claimed by somebody else. Mm-hmm. Now, before the trade deadline, they can trade him and get something. But if he's on waivers, they're not going to get as much as they could if he was actually playing well.
Right.
And then finally, with the exception of an Ohapi home run, the Angels get thumped. Although they started out okay. Griffin Canning went 6 innings and only gave up 4 runs on 4 hits. But it was the bullpen that fell apart, and they end up losing that game 11-1. What's his name? Fat. Forgot his first name. That we saw pitch last year for the D-backs. He was their starter in that game and shut down the Angels. So the Halos find their way to Northern California to take on San Francisco, and they end up winning this series versus the Giants 2-1, which was kind of a surprise. But then you go and you kind of look that the Giants are not playing great in the NL West. They have more wins than the Angels do, but they've got problems. Now, they've got guys that'll come back. They've had a couple of good games. You've seen games, Matt Chapman, come back and do things. He's still got some, power, some talent to play this game, even though he's had some down years. So he's done well. Tyler Anderson started off the series, went 5 1/3, just gave up 1 run. It was Adam Simber who gave up 4 runs in that game. But in the end, the Angels were able to win this 8-6. Ohapi goes 2 for 4. Zetto, a 1 for 4 game with a home run. Moniak even jumping up in there, and Estevez, great save. Actually, in this series, I would say for the Giants, their player of the series would have been Elliot Ramos. He was like home run back-to-back games. I think actually in potentially all 3 games he had a home run, but he was really doing well for them. So the next game, Sandoval, which we already know he went out in the Dodger series, 8 hits, 3 runs, 5 Ks, home run to Ramos. They just didn't get really, he was able to kind of keep them there, gave up the 3 runs. The bullpen actually gave up no runs. And then they doubled the total strikeout amount, 5 Ks, that Sandoval had. And it was Ohapi with a home run, Rengifo and Moniak again. Moniak with a home run as well. And then finally, the guy that I wanted to talk about, this in a loss. The Angels lose this last one, 13-6. The bullpen kind of fell apart, and it was a bullpen game. Suarez, 5 runs in 1 inning. Strickland, 4 runs in his time. Carson Fulmer, 4 runs. It was just like the pitching staff's just falling apart. And of course, the Angels, 6 runs is great, except when you give up 13.
Yeah.
Stefanik also had a pretty good game in there as far as the Angels and that, but here's what I saw with Ben Joyce. He goes 2 innings, strikes out 3, only gave up 1 hit. And what they've been teaching him is, and we've talked about Ben Joyce before, he's thrown the fastest pitch as of now in a college game.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to come in and pitch and throw, 20 pitches in a row at 105.
Yeah.
And then he injured his shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that we're finding is shoulders are harder to come back from than Tommy John.
Yeah.
And so he did that. So now he's been pitching down in Huntsville, Alabama, or actually it's another town, but just right next to Huntsville where the Trash Pandas are. And he's been pitching. He had been pitching there. They brought him up. They've been working with him, and he's learning a little finesse. He's learning how to pitch, which is what I mentioned about Sandoval. Why are we throwing sweepers? What we've got to look at with all of these pitchers that are going down week after week, another one bites the dust.
Yep.
And it's because they don't know how to pitch. Not everybody's going to be finesse. Like, probably the greatest finesse pitcher in my lifetime has been Greg Maddux. You had others that pitched well, and a lot of them threw hard. My favorite pitcher of all time is a hard thrower, but he knew how to throw a curveball. He knew how to throw some other pitches. And I think he's an anomaly, when it comes to pitchers and Nolan Ryan. But, you got guys who knew how to do, we called them junker ballers or junk ball pitchers. Look at the effect that when guys come in and throw knuckleballs now, nobody can hit them.
Yeah, that's true.
Because they don't know what to do. They're waiting for the gas.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they get, the wheelchair pitch up there, it completely throws them off. And what I'm seeing with Ben Joyce, it's a work in progress, but he's trying to actually learn how to pitch. So he's not throwing his arm out, trying to be 100. And I think this is going to be better for the game in the long run because everybody that comes out to pitch is ready to throw 100 miles per hour. And they, you can just go from 100 mile an hour to the next inning by inning. And, it makes it hard on the hitters, but the hitters will figure it out. If all I'm seeing is 100 mile, an hour, and then when it comes up, having somebody and look at all of the curves and the sliders, they break a certain way. These guys are out. They're so far out ahead of most breaking pitches. They don't know how to hit them.
Yeah.
What was the Clint Eastwood movie? Trouble with the Curve?
Yeah.
That's all of them.
Yeah.
With the exception of a handful of guys that know how to hit that, the top 3 for the Dodgers. Luis Arise, other guys that are in that ilk that they focus on the pitch and they want to hit. Anyway, Angels win that series versus the Giants, head home to take on Milwaukee. Of course, Milwaukee, best team in the Central. And you would wonder, how is that possible when you look at the guys that they have out on injury? They they traded Corbin Burns to Baltimore. It's like, how did all this happen? How are they still the top? And the rest of the teams in the Central aren't as bad as they have been.
Yeah.
There's some competition there.
Yeah. I mean, something to do with the Central always seems to be, the lost division, because they're never, their first place team is never at the same level as, say, an East, your East or West counterparts, either in the American League or the National League.
Right. And they're actually the top of the Central. See, they're almost at 600 ball. They're playing, they're winning 59% of their games. St. Louis has come from like the cellar. They 13. And that's they're fairly similar to the West in that the Dodgers are at 617 winning percentage, and the Padres, who had everybody else had been below, the Dregs have actually gotten over 500 by a couple of games. And so, they look similar. And then the rest of them, the Central and the West look really close. If it wasn't for the fact that the Phillies are just playing heads and shoulders above everybody else right now,
right?
Everything would look pretty safe. I mean, not pretty safe, but pretty similar. So Milwaukee in the house. So Angels call up Zach Plesac to make his first start. Goes 6 innings, only gives up 3 runs on 4 hits. Did give up 2 home runs, but he was called up that day for that start and pitched really well. Like I said, second outing versus Dodgers, not very good.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens as that goes, but they need the starters, especially now that Sandoval's out. They end up losing this series. They win that first game thanks to Zach Plesac, Guillorme, and Shanuel. Oh, and Zach Neto, Zetto with a home run and 2 RBIs. Game 2, Griffin Canning, who's had some overall decent outings, became he's kind of picked up where Reed Detmers left off, and he's been more consistent. As the season has gone, didn't have a great outing, gave up 6 runs. In that one, and then Tyler Anderson. They lose it 2-0, but Tyler Anderson just gave up 1 run over 7 innings, and it was the bullpen that gave up the other run. 5 Ks, 3 walks. Here's the thing that I've been noticing. Not a lot of strikeouts for the Angels. They've still got an issue with first pitch strikes, which Wash has been on them about consistently. We've heard that come up a couple of times. We know that they've had their meetings. We know that they have player meetings. They have accountability meetings.
Well, I think they have a meeting before every game.
Yeah, it's been constant.
So it's almost like these guys are in summer school. That's their, because Ron Washington said he wanted to bring a classroom-like atmosphere to the Angels. And whether that's because you've got a lot of young players, whatever, it may be. But yeah, meeting before every game, sometimes it works. Like when they were playing the Diamondbacks, they had a great meeting and they came out and beat them. And other times, not so much.
Yeah, but then the next night, they didn't have a great meeting and they come out and get bumped.
I know.
I'm not real sure if I saw... I see things happen, but I don't see them consistently.
Right.
And there's still errors. There's judgment calls that that they should, as for guys that have played as long as they have, they should be making those. They shouldn't be making those.
Yeah.
I know things are going to happen. I know sometimes you're gonna think you saw one thing, like we were talking about, having your head down. I didn't see the stop sign. You know, those kind of things are going to happen occasionally, but they happen consistently. Now, I was asked, well, how's the new manager doing? I'm like, well, if you take it just from an Angel standpoint, he's not really doing anything more or less than anybody else has done since Mike Scioscia left. Phil Nevin and Joe Madden never got a chance to really do it. I think that, like Joe Madden, Ron Washington is a similar kind of manager. It's going to take 2 or 3 seasons to get his way fully implemented. But what he needs is, at minimum, is a GM that's going to help them build a team that can win. Obviously, the injuries he can't do anything about. Can't help that that Mike Trout is his recovery is going much slower than even he thought it would be. Anthony Rendon still having some issues. They're not saying where he's at, but he's not yet become the Anthony Rendon of like last year and the year before. He's still talking positively and talking to the press occasionally. Mike Trout is Mike Trout. We know what he's going to expect or going to do. He's not traveling with the team, but he's not. But he's there encouraging everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't know what's going to happen with that. Clearly, we know. What's his name? Sandoval's out.
Yeah.
For the season. We don't know what else is coming, and we really don't know. Are these young guys? They're having ups and downs. Sean Ewell goes in stretches where he's great, and then he slumps. Zach Neto, same way. Moniak's starting to come up, but he's been in a slump all season. So there's so many things that are going on there. It's just, will they be able to get past those things and start figuring out Wash's philosophy? Can the GM, I don't even want to say his name anymore.
Right.
Can he, here you're going to be a seller, then sell off the pieces, but try to get something good back that you can build with the 2 or 3 pieces that you have now, and in hopes that Mike Trout and Anthony Rendon are going to come back and play even 75% of what they can play. If they're both playing at back to their top levels, that's good. And then you figure out how to work the starters so far, for the most part, have been able to give you a fair amount of innings, and then fix the bullpen, because the bullpen that you spent all of your money on in the offseason shows me you don't know where to spend your money on anything, Perry.
Mm-hmm.
You're not doing it the Atlanta way. I can tell you that.
Well, and we haven't heard, he's not giving interviews, the GM, and I hope that Washington will be, are they going to say, okay, let's see how this goes, this experiment with Washington, will he be here next year? I think, yes, he does. He should be. But
is it fair to not give him but 1 year to turn things around? I mean, and then who are you going to go get?
Yeah.
We don't know who's available, but you might as well have just left Phil Nevin in there.
Yeah. Well, and that's my thought too, is they have to continue with what they have. I think Ron Washington is he's trying to put in the pieces. Like I said, they're in this summer school. That's what it makes me think, because you've got so many young players on the roster that are playing every day. And he's got to be able to teach them along with the other coaches. I think the pitching has always been an issue for not just the Angels, but the Angels. And
I think
it's
almost more than any other team. Like we look
Yeah,
at the
no.
Dodgers and we could say, yes, they need some pitching things, but they're able to pull rabbits out of the hat somewhere.
that
And
yeah.
they're able to bring a pitcher up. Look at Gavin Stone.
Mhm.
Let's look at his debut. Did
Oh,
you think
yeah.
he'd be where he is now?
No, he should still. You would
I was like,
looking at his debut.
trade
He's
that guy.
right. Trade him, or he's back to OKC or Tulsa. He goes back to Oklahoma. Yeah, and now you see where he is. So I don't. That's the part I don't get with the Angels is they have a new pitching coach, right?
Yeah,
But
Enright.
but it seems the same. Like it's the same.
I think the thing is, and I keep hearing this a lot talking about coaches and stuff, is that, the Lakers just hired a first-time coach.
Mm-hmm.
And you hear this anytime new coaches come in, especially if they have a different philosophy on things, is that I got to get player buy-in. I got to get them to build in and trust with the process. And of course, that's always that cliche, right? Trust the process. Mike Trout said it the other day about his rehab. I just got to trust the process.
Yeah.
And sometimes you're like, okay, but I think in this case with Wash, with Enright, I think that you do have to trust their process for a while.
Yeah.
And I think what happens is these players say that I don't want to do it that way. And the younger the player, some of them are like, yeah, I want to learn everything. But you got to have, even if you don't have Mookie Betts talent, or better yet, since we're talking about the Angels, Mike Trout talent, you have to work like those guys do.
Mm-hmm.
You have to work harder than the other guy, even if the other guy is more talented. See, that's what I always thought happened with Joe Adell.
Yeah.
Joe Adell had a chip on his shoulder that I'm a number one or a high draft pick. You see that a lot with number one draft picks.
Lux.
Yeah. And that I'm the greatest and they want me here. Okay. Yeah, they do. They see something there. But if you just think that it's going to be handed to you, it's not going to be handed to you. And you know what? We can go in and say, well, generationally speaking, more of this generation wants things handed to them. You know what? There were players when I was a kid that wanted handed to them because they were better, than some other kid. We've all wanted that. We all think we deserve something. It's every generation has somebody like that. Just some are worse. With that said, these guys have to work hard. And even if you're talented, Mookie Betts, in my mind, as much as Shohei Ohtani, when he's pitching and pitching well, is a perennial all-star, or not all-star, well, that too, but MVP candidate. He could walk away breaking the record with 10 MVPs in his career. Mookie Betts is always right there. And the greatest thing that happened for Shohei's MVP candidacy is that Mookie Betts is hurt. And the same thing on all of these guys. They have to get out there and work. Zach Neto, you have some talent, but you're not a Hall of Famer. You're not even an all-star yet. But what do you need to do to put yourself in that spot? And are you willing to do it? And with the pitchers, they got to buy in to what Barry Enright's saying. And if they're saying, I still think I want to throw that, perfect example, Bull Durham. When Crash shows up, what's his name? Nuke LaLoosh there wants to throw whatever he wants to throw.
Right.
And he teaches him that's not the philosophy and turns him in more to a pitcher and helps him get through and find that talent.
Yeah.
This is what the Angels, they need Perry out of the way. Because I don't think he's letting do that. And Wash needs to chill out on blaming people for things sometimes. He needs to keep going down his road, but he's got to get those guys to buy into it. Barry Enright has to get the pitchers to buy into it.
Yeah,
and so far, it's not fully doing
and I think that there's something, accountability meetings, like I get it. and you're like, okay, I want, you made this error, or you could have done this better. But after a while, it's just going to be, they're just not going to listen anymore. It's like, because they're younger kids. And I think you have kids of your own, and you tell them over and over, and they don't listen, and they don't listen. And that's where I think
Mom doesn't know anything.
Right. And they're going to be like, Wash doesn't know anything. But the greatest thing is when you have the veterans. So right now, Kevin Pillar or Brandon Drury, or, those guys that have been playing, that if it's a optional only workout day, or optional only batting practice, or whatever, they need to be out there on all the time. They need to be there, because that's what Mookie Betts does. That's what Freddie Freeman does. If it's optional, they're there. Yeah, Mike Trout. That's what I mean.
There.
So
that's their leader. Part of that the Angels' problem is all the kids.
Yeah.
I've been reading Penguin Power, which is Ron Say's book, his kind of biography, and one thing he talks about with the team that they had there is they policed one another. So somebody didn't hustle. Somebody struck out on something. Of course, nobody cares about strikeouts now, but then it was a big deal. But if you didn't do what you were going to do, you came in the dugout, you were going to get side-eyed by 2 or 3 of those veteran players. The other guys in his infield, Davey Lope, Steve Garvey, Bill Russell, Dusty Baker was there. Those guys, and they all held each other accountable. Tommy Lasorda didn't have to call him in and have meetings with them. Mm-mm. He didn't have any need to do that. Whereas Wash has got so many young kids playing. His veteran players are, Kevin Pillar.
Right.
And then there's a drop in age from Kevin Pillar, probably like Luis Rengifo. Mm-hmm. And then whoever they're trying to rotate through from the players they're picking up and stuff like that. We got to talk about a couple of those too coming up. In fact, let's do that now. After Suarez pitched against Milwaukee, he or was it the Diamondbacks? I'm trying to remember one. I think it was the Diamondbacks, because he gave up all those runs. DFA'd Jose Suarez, which needed to be done. I was like, what took him so long? Right. And then unfortunately for him, but it's good because I didn't realize this, but his wife, pregnant, Cole Tucker, DFA'd as well. And
I shouldn't say it though, because if I say it, there's a show called The Masked Singer, and I won't say, but his wife plays a part in this current season.
Well, I didn't even know. You know what? I didn't even recognize her. We went and saw the new Bad Boys movie a couple weeks ago, and she's in there.
Oh.
And I saw her name, and I looked at Blanca. I said, Vanessa Hudgens was in this movie? And I didn't even, she goes, yeah, she was this person. I said, really? I didn't even recognize her. It wasn't like she had a small part. She was a huge part. Yeah. Mostly that's the 2 big guys. But anyway,
okay.
Those 2 guys DFA'd back on the 17th. I'm interested in seeing what the Angels decide to do. Do they have to sell any pieces? No. They can be sellers if they want, but they don't have anybody other than the guys that they would want to trade would be Trout or Rendon, and they're not going to trade either one of them. Everybody else that's on the field, I hate to say it this way, but as far as the trade market goes, they're throwaways. People may look at Joe Adell and say, hey, we still see some talent. Let's see if we can make him work here. I think Luis Rengifo now, maybe Tyler Anderson would be a piece that I could see because he's been pretty solid. Mm-hmm. Kevin Pillar, probably getting a solid player to come in and help you get through the playoffs. So a lot of options there. Angels at home for their next two series. The first time they are meeting with the A's. And I'm supporting the A's today, apparently.
Yeah.
I got
Or
my sell.
what you need is a shirt that's half green, half red.
Right.
And then you'd be A's and Angels.
I really
with
want to
the
do
word
a
sell.
red shirt on the front that says "In the Curse."
Yes.
And on the back says "Already sell the team."
Yeah.
Well, anyway,
That'd be a good
so
one.
they got the A's. This is the latest they've ever played the A's. You know, an NL or an AL West rival. Normally they start the season there or within the first month.
Right. Yeah.
The A's. Not this month. The A's are normally like their second series, if not their opening day series. And then the Tigers come to town. And that's going to be an interesting series because the Tigers are kind of in the middle of things. Don't know if they're like the prey, you know, checking out their prey, ready to attack, or if they're just going to fall back. It'll be interesting. Do you have a player of the week?
I do have a player of the week. I went through and I just looked at consistency, and he wasn't always consistent, but he had, from my calculations, if I wrote them all down right, he had 3 doubles, a couple of home runs in there. So, and not that he has this great batting average for player of the week, but I went with Logan O'Hoppe this week.
He was one that I thought about as well because he came through at a couple of different times at work.
Yeah.
And one thing I have seen about him, we were talking about people working hard. He's somebody who's been working hard, and it's tough being behind the plate.
Yes.
But he's definitely.
Well, I was watching his pregame workout that he does, and he's in everything. He's all suited up to be behind the plate. And he's like, I don't know, he's down like doing, you know, squatting and I don't know what he's doing, but whatever, it looked like something I didn't want to do. So I was impressed that he was out there before the game going through everything, not just stretching, but in full regalia, you know, ready to go.
Full catcher gear, as if he was ready to play right then and there.
Yes. And so that was part of also my reasoning for making him player of the week.
And as another cliche, he was putting in the work.
Yes.
All right. I like Logan O'Hoppe a lot. And, you know, I'm with you. He definitely, I think he was my last week player of the week. This week, I went a different direction and I gave it to Zach Neto. He, you know, once again, you're talking about numbers. He only hit 270, but he hit 270.
Right.
Three home runs, 8 RBIs. He figured in some wins. And that helps. You know, the Angels, they need that. He's got to be solid, and he was solid at short in most games. So I gave it to him. He's got, you know, there's not a lot of opportunities when you go back through these. You know, we had Pilar for a while. Pilar's been kind of quieting down. Rengifo has still been pretty solid. So we got to try to find those silver linings in other. It's too easy for us, and you hear it a lot with talk shows, and we can be the same way if we wanted to be. You tend to get, when you're less of a homer about a team or less silver linings about a team, and you're constantly pulling out what, like, instead of all of the positives that happen in a game, you nitpick Walker Buehler's pitching performance or Sandoval or any of these guys.
Sure.
And you nitpick that. We can nitpick all the things that went wrong, but that's not why we love baseball. And we know they're going to go wrong. And honestly, I played baseball up till I was in high school. And at one point I thought I wanted to play beyond that. But you know what? One thing I realized is I didn't have the work ethic on that. You know, I have work ethic on so many other things, but not on that. And that's a 24/7 thing. You can't just be it 5 days a week. You can have a great work ethic and work for somebody in a regular job, Monday through Friday, 40 hours, maybe some overtime here or there, and have a terrific work ethic while you're there. But it's not your whole life. If you're going to be in professional sports, it's your whole life.
Yes.
All right, I don't know what's going on here. It looks like the bullpen card's missing. Where's Jana? Oh, good. She's out in the parking lot doing donuts.
I'm doing donuts in the bullpen cart. Souped up.
We got to go around baseball. Come on, we don't have time for that. You can do that later. You had a whole 2 weeks to get that done, and instead you're wasting time now. So let's hop on in here, slow down a little bit, and let me get in, and we will go take a look at what's happening around baseball. And as we always like to do, we like to start with the players of the week. Just from this last week.
Just from this last week. And NL player, don't think it's really a surprise. Shohei Ohtani, 4 home runs, 11 RBIs, and a slash line of .458. On base percentage, .567, and a slugging, 1.083.
I'm surprised his slugging isn't like over 2 way that, if that's even possible.
And the AL player of the week, Josh Naylor. 3 home runs. Yeah, 8 RBIs, and a slash line of 400, 423, and 880 for his slugging.
And the Guardians are causing problems in the American League.
They are.
I think even though it's easy, the odds-on favorite, if we were sponsored by some kind of a betting thing, we would say odds on for the Guardians to win the World Series, brought to you by Down the Alleyway Betting and Garbage Collection. Anyway, I think even though right now the Yankees, provided that the Yankees bullpen holds up, which I'm not sure how long it's going to hold up because they've had to really rely on it a lot with their starters. Even though they welcomed Garrett Cole back. I think that, the Guardians could take out the Yankees potentially.
Yeah,
I wouldn't bet that way.
Yeah.
But potentially.
Potentially. Yeah. There's potential. You got potential.
Yes, indeed. All right. So lots of things happened over the last couple of weeks, and it's hard to grab hold of what to talk about. And, we can always find things with different games. I watch various games, and, when I can, I try to watch like Quick Pitch on MLB Network or, baseball, centric shows on ESPN or something, but I don't always get that opportunity. And then between social media and that, we look at different things. But one game that really was a highlight for the week was the game at Rickwood Field in Birmingham, Alabama. It's the only stadium that had hosted Negro League games that's still standing, fully still standing.
Yeah, it's the oldest professional ballpark in the United States.
Okay, yeah, that sounds more right than what I was trying to say. And
it is the former home of the Birmingham Barons of the Negro Leagues.
Right. The Triple B, you saw it on their hat.
Mm-hmm.
But the weird thing about it is that they used to have white teams that played there as well. And I learned while watching this from the oldest living Negro League player still alive, Bill Gleason, that they weren't allowed to use the locker rooms there.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So they played there, but they couldn't use the locker rooms.
Yeah.
So just to go back, we knew this game was coming up. There was, I think there was even gear for sale, on Fanatics and other places. But it was like, hey, this is good. This is cool. They were also going to celebrate Willie Mays there. One of the last of the Negro League players to go from the Negro Leagues into Major League Baseball. And Bill Gleason, he had gone from the Negro Leagues and pitched for the St. Louis Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, he's 99.
Yeah.
When I was watching the Sunday Night Baseball the week before. It was like, oh yeah, it looks like Willie Mays isn't going to be making it to the Rickwood game, and I thought, oh, that's too bad. I wonder what's going on. I knew he was in his 90s, but I didn't know how much. He's 93, and then 2 days later, it's announced that he had died. And it's like, okay, now I know why he wasn't going. It's because he must have been sick or in bad health, and I just figured he's just, he's in the 90s. Just, I don't want to travel.
Yeah.
That
right.
can be a pain. So that's kind of what I thought, but it turns out, so, from there, obviously across baseball, everybody's been looking at, Willie, all of his accomplishments, playing in the Negro Leagues, what kind of a player was he? Played there, he's from Birmingham.
Mm-hmm.
He played there at Rickwood, and it was a sad day to hear that. Here's the guy that when he left baseball, and when I was like, coming up as a kid, I got to see him in the end of his career. So I didn't get to see prime Willie Mays, but I did get to see him. Ron Say talks about him in his book as being his favorite player of all time, and finally getting to meet him and that. And it was, it was really cool that, they were ready to do all this for him. He's always been an icon there. And I want to talk about some things that happened at Rickwood that I think were cool, but mostly that I have some issues. I'm going to have to do an early Festivus because I got some issues with Major League Baseball.
All right.
But real quick, Willie Mays, born May 6, 1931, in Westfield, Alabama, grew up in Birmingham, played, in the Negro Leagues before he joined the Giants. And even though his then manager, Leo DeRocher, would get fired for racially insensitive remarks and among other things, he played Willie Mays and felt that Willie Mays was the greatest player he had ever seen, and played him in center field. And all you got to do is watch a couple plays, and Willie Mays was, as a couple players called him, a six-tool player. He was the original five tools, and then the sixth tool that he had was the quality of as a human being that he carried around. Anyway, he died at his home in Palo Alto on June 18th. Unfortunately, not going there. He, obviously in the Hall of Fame, was an MVP 2 times, Rookie of the Year, 24-time All-Star, or was a World Series champ in 1954, 12-time Gold Glover, won a batting title. He was an All-Star MVP 2 different times, and he was the Major League Player of the Year. He ended up his career with the Mets, but he moved with the Giants to San Francisco, and became the face of the Giants. Even to this day, I think he's the face of the Giants more than anybody else, more than Barry Bonds, more than Buster Posey, more than anybody in between. He was really, I could go on and on. But yeah, definitely. And the thing that I thought of first is, we lost Henry Aaron earlier this year. We've got Willie Mays is gone. These guys are starting, the heroes that we grew up with with Major League Baseball. A lot of these guys, there's still a lot of guys alive who were Negro League players, and I'm going to get to that in a second. But as these guys start dying off, that part of the game that held a country hostage, for baseball, that made people involved and want to be part of baseball, those guys are all leaving, and that part of them, we have to remember those guys and that history so we can go forward and teach the new kids that are coming up about those guys. The Rickwood game. I didn't get a chance to see it live, but I recorded it. John Baptiste, who's from New Orleans, he's a great musical artist. There is John Baptiste there is a documentary on Netflix about him and his wife, her journey through cancer. And I haven't seen that, but I've heard it's great from a lot of people talk. But I love his music. And so he comes out with his ensemble and they perform a couple of his songs. And then they're getting ready to do the national anthem. They start off with Lift Every Voice, which is an incredible song. I had never really paid that much attention. I've heard it and I knew some of the lyrics, but I went and looked at it. It's a great song. And then, of course, they go into the national anthem. Before that, they're wheeling in. Not everybody needed to be wheeled in. Some were walking. There were some are older. Like I said, Bill Gleason, 99 years old, the oldest living former Negro League player. But of various ages, some are in wheelchairs. Some don't really seem to be, fully focused on what's going on. They're just kind of there. There's others walking in, and the players, they're coming in from both dugouts to the field, and one player per Negro League player.
Uh-huh. Right.
So one Cardinal, because it was the Cardinals versus the Giants. So the Cardinals are coming in from their dugout, each accompanying with a former Negro League player. Same thing with the Giants. Other than like the first couple that came out, which was the first one was Bill Gleason. Instead of was they're going through and they went down the line, and John Baptiste is performing as they all come in. He's performing one of his songs. They all get in there and he's performing and talking with some of them. And, a couple of them are kind of dancing around. Some are just like, can we just get this over with? Whatever. And some of the players are interacting with the one that they're escorting onto the field, the player they're escorting onto the field. Some of them are just talking to the player behind them or beside them somewhere. But at one point, they go completely down the line where they have chairs or openings for those that are in wheelchairs. Not once did they go through and show names of any of these players other than the first couple that came out of the dugouts. And I'm like, did you not know their names? Did you not take that? We would have liked to have known their names.
Yeah. That's something that you always want to know. That's something I want to know. I'm like, oh, who is that? What's it? Yeah.
Now, at some point, maybe somewhere it's all these are the guys who were the men that participated, and you can go from there. Or I don't know. And then the other thing that I thought, and I don't even understand why they would have done this. And I recorded this, I DVR'd it, and I had to go back 3 or 4 times just to make sure that my hearing wasn't dropping out in this one section. So everybody's out there. I think they'd already done the national anthem, Lift Every Voice and the national anthem. And there's 3 guys standing there. And I recognize 2. And then there's Willie Mays' son, Mike. Well, looking at the screen on the right side of him was King Griffey Jr., who, of course he's going to be there. He wore number 24.
Right.
He's connected to him. The guy on the other side, Willie Mays' godson, Barry Bonds. They announce, they said, and now, however they said it, King Griffey Jr. He does that. Willie Mays' son, Michael Mays. Nothing. They walk out. Mike Mays has a microphone, and he says something about, his dad would have loved to have been there, but he's there with us now, in spirit. Make a lot of noise to let him know that you appreciate him, or that that he's there with us tonight.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. At no point, even when I rewound, I thought I missed it. They never introduced Barry Bonds.
Huh.
And I don't care if Barry Bonds is a controversial figure. I don't care if people think that he shouldn't be in the Hall of Fame, but for all intents and purposes, he's never been, and we've talked a lot about people being banned, in the last couple of weeks on this show, banned from baseball. He's never been banned from baseball. He's not getting into the Hall of Fame because they don't want to vote him into the Hall of Fame, but he's eligible, or was eligible. Now he has to wait for, like a veterans committee to decide if he should be in.
Right.
But he's eligible because he wasn't banned.
Did they not? I mean, that's dumb because they didn't need. My thought was, well, everybody knows who he is, but everybody knows who Ken Griffey Jr. is. So
that's what I'm saying.
Why would you need to announce one and not the other? And because Barry Bonds, as you say, was Willie Mays' godson, that is a family, that's a family connection,
right?
Of the bond of, not blood relative, but still that connection.
And a San Francisco icon.
Yes.
Regardless of what happened. We're so far past, we should be so far past that part. He doesn't have to go in the Hall of Fame. He didn't do it. But you know what? A couple things. I was just talking with my barber about this. At the time that he technically would have been busted for steroids, at the beginning anyway, steroids were not illegal in baseball. Mark McGuire was the same thing, but, and I don't want to go off on that tangent. The thing is, they should have announced him out there. I don't know why he got overlooked. Was it just simply an overlook? Was it like, hey, Barry, you can go out there if you want, but we're not acknowledging you. And
was he not supposed to go out there?
Obviously we don't know.
Or he walked out there and the announcer was just looking at the notes.
All of that could be true.
I
never saw any uproar about it any place. Maybe nobody noticed it. Maybe I still missed it after 5 or 6 times. I don't know. But I thought for sure that was a slight. So there's 2 things that really bugged me about things that happened that I believe Major League Baseball should have been on top of. Even if it was a last second thing that he was there and he was going to walk out, maybe Mike Mays asked him to come. I don't know. The only guy out of the 3 I didn't know was Mike Mays. And then when they didn't announce him, I kept looking back and pausing it. Is that not Barry Bonds? Did I somehow miss? Is this some other guy that just resembles Barry Bonds? I don't know. And then, of course, Barry Bonds goes on to at the post-game show with the Fox crew, and says he would have homered off of Satchel Paige, and some of the world is like, no, you wouldn't have. Crazy. I'm sorry. Did you ever see him hit home runs? He would have hit a home run off of Satchel Paige. I don't doubt it. Regardless, I don't see him as. I still see Hank Aaron at 755 as the home run champion. And I remember where I was when I saw 715. I don't remember where I was when I saw 762, and I probably just saw it as a highlight somewhere because I didn't care.
Right.
Anyway. And it would have been 756 would have been the home run. I may have even seen 762, but 756, I don't remember seeing. I don't even remember hearing about it. with that. But the biggest thing that I think came out of that is that not only did they not, I don't feel like they properly honored the men that were out there that dealt with, not only were they playing in the Negro Leagues, but they were still dealing with oppression and the Jim Crow laws and all that stuff. These guys went through hell to play baseball. And then they talked to Reggie Jackson, and Reggie Jackson played there in Rickwood, and he couldn't use at the time he went in the early 60s, couldn't use the locker room there, couldn't stay in places, couldn't eat. And he made it a point to say, look, if it wasn't for my manager, players on the team like Raleigh Fingers and Joe Rudy and a few others. In fact, he said he stayed with Joe Rudy and his wife until the people in the building that they were staying in, practically marched on him and torched him to make him leave. And it was just like, it was a really, just to see, there's people that we know of that were directly affected by those things. When I was born, we still didn't have, any kind of equal rights at that point. So these are things that's happened in my lifetime. And it was, those are the things that when we do these celebrations, we need to make sure that everybody knows what happened. And we need, for them to think, these guys paid a price to play baseball. And in a price just to live in some places, depending on where they were, even if they hadn't played baseball. So it's like, let's, it also should put us in a point where we should start seeing these things a little better, where we can move forward. But the game itself was the game. I didn't see all of it. I'm going to go back and watch it. I only made it up to about the 4th inning before I needed to do something else. But that was my issues.
Yeah, no, I could see where
Barry Bonds, and that's a little thing, but not, somewhere, even if they just did a big list that they showed on there.
Yeah,
because they couldn't go player by player.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting too, because to know who they were, and know who their names, because then you have people be like, oh, now that the stats, the Negro League stats are put in with Major League Baseball, that you could go and look them up and say, wow, this guy, pitcher, whatever, hitter, they did this, or they played for this team. You can go back and look if you don't know the name.
Yeah. What teams did they play for?
Yeah.
Some of the guys had caps on. Some of them had caps that had like all different, they had all the way around. There were different of the different Negro League teams. Mm-hmm. Some of them, specific, like they played for the Clowns, Indianapolis Clowns. So they had a clown hat on. And, what's nice is those things are available like either through the Negro League Museum, or or like Fanatics has some of that stuff, and some other places, Cooperstown Collection stuff. They have those things. And some of those guys are even in the Hall of Fame, but they're not, we don't know who those guys were. We know the big names that had played, we know Josh Gibson, Cool Papa Bell, who's always been, the stories of him has always been one of my favorites when it comes to the to the Negro Leagues, stuff like that, Satchel Paige, and so many different players. And then the guys that came out of it, Jackie Robinson, of course, and the names go on, not to belay this point, but that part, just for what they said it was going to be, I felt that part fell short. Although John Batiste was incredible. So if you get a chance to go back and find that, John Batiste at Rickwood Field, it was he's a great entertainer. I'm a fan.
So as you mentioned, Willie Mays did play with the Mets, and the Mets had some interesting things happen this past couple of weeks. Grimace from McDonald's, one of the McDonald's characters, big purple guy. Yep. So he threw out the first pitch And it's probably been a couple of weeks now. And ever since he threw out the first pitch, the Mets went on this crazy, they were like 6-0, 7-0, you know, they just couldn't lose. And it's all because of Grimace, apparently. There's guys that I saw in Chicago when they played in Chicago. They are, you know, if you're a Seinfeld fan, face painters, but not face painters. They painted their chest with Grimace. So, and Pete Alonso has come out and said the reason we're winning is all due to Grimace.
Well, yeah, if that's what it takes, since he did that, threw out that first pitch, now they're winning. And doesn't matter what you think it is, you got to roll with it.
And that's, yeah. So Grimace and the Mets, I mean, the fans are loving it. And Pete Alonso, like I said, he credits Grimace for turning the Mets season around. So I don't, you know, I think it's kind of just crazy how things like that, you know, work out.
Right.
Where they had this 7-game win streak because of Grimace. Now, I don't think if Edwin Diaz had talked to Grimace, maybe he would have gotten something would have happened, because Grimace could have given him a hamburger. Maybe he takes some of the grease from the hamburger, puts it on his hand. I don't know what Edwin Diaz had on his hand. The umpire said it was not just rosin and sweat. It was something else, and you can see the picture. I mean, his hand looks pretty sticky and tacky. Edwin Diaz suspended for 10 games, foreign substance. Got caught. So
I really don't know what it looks like on their hand. Normally, when you get caught with sticky substances, there's kind of, you know, brown and all that. This looked like he had some dirt on his hands,
and it was black. There, it was like, yeah, there was black. I don't. It was white and black and all kind. It was, yeah, like it was messy. It was messy. And the reason I was thinking of, I don't know if you ever watch Bob's Burgers, but there's an episode of Bob's Burgers, and Bob goes to see one of his favorite pitchers in that plays there in their town, and it's like, hey, I'm gonna, you know, give me a burger. Well, what happens is he really wants the grease from the burger joint to use for his, and then Bob finds out and is devastated.
Oh.
So
here he thought that guy liked his burgers. He just liked his burger grease.
He just liked the burger grease. So, I mean, I guess whatever it takes for the Mets to come around, and whatever it takes for the Mets fans to have something to root for. If it's a big purple character for McDonald's named Grimace, so be it.
Yep. It doesn't really matter.
No,
as long as that, if you believe that's why you're winning, then that's why you're winning.
That's it. And Grimace is he's all around town. I think I saw him at the top of the Empire State Building. I mean, he's having a renaissance.
How does that work? And does that mean that the Hamburglar's going to start burgling some hamburgers again?
So that's what I would think. Okay, if you got Grimace in New York, I think Hamburglar throws out the first pitch for the White Sox. Let's see how it goes.
Why not? Yeah, White Sox need something. They got no mojo at all.
No,
so
and
why not?
And the Hamburglar wears the white and black,
right?
And the stripes are very similar. I mean, it's a little bit broader, but they could wear their City Connects when he throws out and see how it goes. It wouldn't hurt.
Why not? You know, I mean, the Angels played nothing but Nickelback songs. We know that didn't work out, but
No.
And in fact, if you want, go back. We have an episode called "Nickelback is Never the Answer" from a couple of seasons ago. So yeah, it's yeah. So yeah, give it a shot. See what happens. The White Sox absolutely positively need something. They've only won like 20 games so far this season.
Yeah.
Just about everybody else is pretty close to 30. You were talking about the wild cards, and
Oh yeah.
right now, if you're, the American League, tight. If the trade deadline was tomorrow, there'd be a lot of teams. There'd only be like 3 teams that were sellers, that are out of it, potentially out of it already. In the American League, the Angels are 9.5 games out, but then Oakland and Chicago, Oakland's 15.5 and Chicago's 22.5 out of the wild card. So these are teams that are going to have to win their division, but it's pretty tight up there. Other than Baltimore, who's got like about a seven game lead, give or take. It's everybody's within shooting distance, and in the National League, it's even tighter. Even the bottom 2, Miami and Colorado, are 13 and 14 games out, and so I don't foresee either one of them making up that ground. But Cincinnati, who is right in front of Colorado and Miami, only 4 games out.
Right.
Everybody's too close. What are you going to do?
Who goes? Yeah. You put all the names in a hat and you draw names. You draw the team names. I don't know.
And right now there's only three teams. So you have the 3 division leaders in the National League, and the 3 wild card teams are the only other 3 teams that are above 500.
Right.
And and that one, and even that race is somewhat tight, just because San Diego's been the Dregs have had some winning ways lately. We'll see what happens, with them. But it's a little farther out for most of the teams, because you figure you have 2 teams that are in the AL that are like 3.5 games out, and then it jumps to 6. But that's still where we're at in the season. And that's Detroit that starts off that, and Texas both. So what happens, going forward? We're almost to the All-Star break, so we can kind of take a look at what might happen in the second half with them. So that'll definitely, right now, until those things change, as we'll see at the end of August, will any of these teams start to fall off and decide to trade? Or will everybody pretty much stand pat and there won't be a lot of trades at all? And then what will happen?
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I just looking at that wild card race just right now. It's crazy. Crazy. I think we should go to Omaha and talk about who won the College World Series. If you didn't get a chance to watch any of the games, go back and see if you can catch them, because College World Series, those games are, even the final game was not a given. It almost looked like they could come back, but they didn't. So we were rooting for University of Kentucky at the beginning of the whole series. We usually pick a team, and most of the time, and I think this goes back to our dad, usually pick somebody, never been there, a Cinderella, somebody, a team like that. Now, obviously, you are a Wildcats fan, basketball, but
Across
we did. Yeah.
I root for them for football, every sport. If I turn on ESPN or the SEC channel and it's women's volleyball and UK's women's volleyball team's playing, I stop and
You're going to watch. Okay. So you are a UK fan. So we were rooting for the Wildcats. They did not make it through. And we ended up with the number 1 seed, Tennessee, against Texas A&M.
Right.
And
now remember, last season, Tennessee made it to Omaha and got quickly eliminated. Like boom, boom. They lost the first 2 games in the double elimination and they were out of there.
Yeah.
This year, not so much. This
no,
year,
not so much.
They were able to make it out of their brackets, out of their region, their super regional, and then to Omaha and out of their section to make it to the finals, like you said.
So number 1 seed Tennessee, number 3 seed Texas A&M. Texas A&M wins the first game. This is a 3-game series. Texas A&M wins the first game. Tennessee comes back, wins the second game, forces this final game. And it was, I didn't get a chance to watch the whole game, but I did watch probably from about the 6th, 7th inning. It was 6-3. And you think, oh, okay, 6th, 7th inning, they're good. No, that's not how it works in the College World Series. Texas A&M did try to come back, and Tennessee helped them a little bit. They end up winning. Tennessee wins the first time baseball championship in school history. They win 6-5. And Tennessee had 60 wins this season. And as you mentioned, they were the SEC regular season champs, the SEC conference tournament champs, the Knoxville regional and super regional champs, and now College World Series champs.
And then what did I do, or what did we do as soon as they won? We went to siblingrivalrybb.com, went to the Fanatics link, and bought Tennessee national champion baseball national champions gear, so we could support our own cause.
That's right. Sometimes you have to support yourself. You gotta. Who else is going to do it, right? Sometimes that's just the way it is.
Exactly.
But
so I was proud of Kentucky, even though they got eliminated pretty quick once they got to Omaha. It was their first time ever there. And, that for me was like, that's good. You got there. Just look at like what happened with Tennessee. They got there and didn't do anything last year. This year, they won it all. UK, if they can continue to build and a good winning program, can find themselves there. Texas A&M is be interesting is that next year, I wonder how it'll look because Oklahoma and Texas will be joining the SEC. Mm-hmm. So will that have any kind of make any kind of a difference to to the how things play out in the SEC and everything.
Well, I want to. You're talking about Tennessee and Tony Vitello, their head coach, is just. I mean, you would think he's just one of the players. The way they interact with him, but before he became the coach at University of Tennessee, they had a 13-year NCAA tournament drought. They only had 4 College World Series appearances since 1947. After he became coach, they had 5 straight NCAA tournaments, 3 College World Series appearances in 4 years, and first national title ever. So congratulations to the Tennessee Volunteers.
Now, I can't let this go. The Tennessee Volunteers, great. I don't want to take away from their championship or anything. Texas A&M, they played well throughout the tournament. They've had some, their coach, their head coach has been head coach, coach of the year a couple of different times. Jim Schlossnagel. And after the game, they always ask these questions. Will you be back? And he got angry at the press and said, of course I'm going to be back. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again, and that hasn't changed my mind. the next day he was the head coach of Texas.
Well, and the reason the reporter asked, I mean, like you said, they always ask that question, but the main reason they asked was because it had been reported either like the day before or that day that the Texas coach had been fired. So that's
Right.
I think, and did he already know that he was going to take that job and that's why he was defensive?
I don't know, but here, he said, I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question, to be honest with you. But I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again. And that hasn't changed in my mind. That's unfair to talk about something like that. I understand you've got to ask the question, but I gave up a big part of my life to come to take this job. And I poured every ounce of my soul in this job. And I've given the job every single ounce I can possibly give it. Right. That. I guess he gave everything. He didn't have anything more.
Yeah, he ran out. I think he could have just, I don't know. I just think it's odd that he would go into so much detail. And then my other question is, where did his family, where is his family? Why?
Yeah, I never saw that.
Like he left his family? Like, what is that about?
So, yeah, exactly. So 24 hours later,
yes,
he lets them know, guess what? I'm leaving. What is it? College Station, College Station, Texas, to go to Austin. Less than 24 hours later, after being, so adamant about not going, he goes, although I know many will be upset with my decision, I chose to make a change to join a longtime friend to continue my career as a college baseball coach. This was a statement released by Texas A&M. The run to the national championship game was truly a remarkable one this year, and I will savor the memories and true friendships I have made there for a lifetime.
Well, I will tell you that I don't think that, some Aggies fans will probably be like, whatever, but I would say that the majority of them are not going to forget that his comments, because we had similar something happen here in New Mexico with the University of New Mexico coach Steve Alford, who coached the basketball team and said, I love New Mexico. I want to continue with this with UNM. They have a good basketball program, especially now, but that's because of Richard Pitino. And but people still remember, like if they come back and play his team, they boo in the pit. It's like as soon as he walks out, they boo him. Like nobody likes him. So he's just put himself on the mark on his back.
And it would have been one thing if he was going to a school completely out of conference. And and this season, technically he was. But next year, Texas and Texas A&M are SEC foes because the A&M has been in the SEC for a couple of years now.
Yeah, I think it'll give fuel to the guys that will continue to play for the Aggies. Always after any championships, you see any football. What doesn't matter? They always enter into the portal. So we'll see. Will there be Aggie players that enter the portal to go play at Texas? Who knows? But yeah, that was just a really dumb. He shouldn't have said anything.
Well, normally the coaches will say, I have no intentions of leaving at this time.
Right.
And then that way they've left the door open. It's like, okay. But then last night, my friend from UT called, said, hey, you want to come be our head baseball coach? And he said, yeah, I'd like to come work with you. We've been friends for so long. Yeah, sure. I said at this time. Well, that was this morning. At this time this evening.
Yeah, anyway, I made that decision. Yes, you are correct.
The thing that bothers me about it is that it doesn't take away from Tennessee's thing, but now we're all, once again, going back to like we were talking about earlier, we're always focused more on the negative of what happened than on the positive. Maybe this will be good for Texas A&M because that guy never won a title. That's the closest he got to the end, but he couldn't finish it as a coach. Maybe they'll get a coach now that'll allow Texas and A&M to not only make it to the championship game, but win it.
Mm-hmm.
As long as they don't do it against Kentucky, I'm fine.
Yeah.
One thing I can be sure of is that a lot of the Texas A&M fans would love to put Schlesinger on the wheel of L.
Okay.
L.
As you mentioned, Diamondbacks pitcher Zach Gallen is on the 15-day IL with a hamstring injury. Braves' Michael Harris II is also on the IL with a hamstring injury. Orioles' Kyle Brandish is having, or actually did have, Tommy John surgery with the internal brace procedure done. I mentioned last week that the Reds' Christian Encarnacion Strand was thinking about having surgery.
I wonder if he's. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, he was thinking about having surgery. He is going to have surgery on his wrist and will be out for the rest of the season.
I'm just wondering if he's related to the nun.
In Nacho Libre.
Encarnacion in Nacho
Yes.
Libre. I maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. Justin Verlander is on the 15-day IL with neck issues. Patrick Sandoval, as we mentioned in the Angel segment, Dodger segment 2, with the elbow pain, he is having Tommy John surgery and will be out for the season. Clayton Kershaw is still on the IL. Did have a rehab start with the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes. Didn't look bad, but after his start, he did say that he had some shoulder soreness. So thought, as you mentioned, he was ahead. Looks like he's either maybe right where he's supposed to be or a little bit behind. So keep an eye on that. Max Muncy has been moved to the 60-day IL with the oblique injury. Walker Buehler is on the IL with a hip issue. He did get hit by a ball and had a hip contusion. I think that is just that was just a good way of saying, yeah, he has this hip. There's some soreness in his hip, but we need to get him on the IL and see what we can do with his pitching.
So then we can help there, maybe get him some rehab starts that more like, training starts.
Exactly.
Stuff like that. What I hate though is that it may not have been a big deal, but now docs, I kind of feel like when you said that, Dave Roberts said he's been complaining about it over the last couple of weeks. And I'm like, you're lying to us.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm not happy that you're lying to us directly like that. Just tell us we got issues. I know there's rules about that stuff, so they got to play it a certain way. Then just don't say anything. Just say he's on, for his hip or whatever, and just go from there. Just don't say anything else, though.
Exactly. And the Dodgers have gotten in trouble along with all the other teams with that phantom IL. That is one of the reasons why they changed the way the IL used to be all 10-day. Everybody was 10-day. Now it's pitchers are on a 15-day IL and your regular, infielders, outfielders are 10-day. So, but yeah, no, you're right. The total, hip. Okay. We'll put it in for, maybe there's a little bit of, he slept on it wrong. Who knows? Michael Grove is also on the IL with a right intercostal strain. They said it'll probably be the 15-day. They don't think it'll be any more than that. Michael Grove has usually comes out of the bullpen, usually is the one that will start those bullpen games. He is hit and miss. And I mentioned Yoshinobu Yamamoto is on the IL with a right rotator cuff strain. So hopefully it's nothing more than that. It's all in that area. So don't want to speculate.
Remember, there used to be rotator cuff tears and stuff like that. That was more common than Tommy John.
Yeah.
You don't hardly ever hear about that. So I almost feel like that's not as big of a deal. I might be wrong, but.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's, he'll just get some rest and it'll heal up and he'll be back. Giancarlo Stanton is on the IL with a strained left hamstring. He is expected to be out for 4 weeks. Anthony Rizzo has a fractured forearm, just continuing his not so great season, and he will probably be out, I'd say 6 to 8 weeks, along with that fractured forearm. It was in a collision at first base, and he was the runner, and unfortunately fractured his forearm. Fernando Tatis Jr. is on the IL with a tricep strain.
What?
Huh?
Oh, it wasn't ringworm?
No. I was like, what? And I know I mentioned, let me mention this guy first. Starting pitcher Brian Wu of the Mariners is on the 15-day IL with right hamstring tightness. And I know I mentioned this last time. Blake Snell is on the IL again with a groin injury, but he did say that he feels like San Francisco, the organization, the Giants are pushing him too hard, too fast to be back on the mound, to be throwing where he should be. He has been a total bust, and he says it's because, he didn't get a spring training. And, he signed for $62 million over 2 years, 3 years, whatever it may be. He wanted $200 million, and he just has injury after injury. And I feel like, yeah, okay, you have the injury, but you have had multiple. You needed to keep yourself pitching, throwing, doing your own routine, because a lot of guys will say, well, spring training is too long.
Well,
so
you're right. It's too long. Everything's too long.
Yeah. So I just think at this point for Blake Snell, I do see his point. Jordan Montgomery has said the same thing. But I think at this point, it's on you, Blake Snell. You just need to do better.
You should have signed earlier then.
Instead
of trying to, get the extra money that you're not
If
earning.
you really want to play baseball, you're going to, is it about the money? I'm sure to a certain extent. But I think just look at Teoscar Hernandez. He could have signed anywhere. He didn't sign for chump change. I mean, $23.5 million is nice for the year. That's really nice. But he could have gone anywhere for an extended period, 2, 3, 4 years. But instead, he wanted to play with the Dodgers. And we are happy that he did that, made that decision.
Indeed. Indeed, we are. You know what? Don't blame everybody else because you made a bad choice. All right. So today, phase 1 of All-Star battling. And so this is really important to us. We should have been doing this from beginning once that is, because we're going to the All-Star game.
Yes. And there are certain people I want to see.
Right. And we should have been telling you about this, we should have been coaching you. You can vote. Politically, you can vote for whoever you want for.
Yes.
Or who want for. You can vote for whoever you want. In the All-Star game, we need you to be voting for people we want to see at the All-Star game.
That's right.
So phase 2 of the process will start up, next. But the last time I looked, the 2 guys that had the most votes of all voting, Aaron Judge and Juan Soto, followed by Bryce Harper. And then surprisingly, I think that number 4 in that mix, or second in the National League, was like Alec Baum. So the Phillies fans have really been putting out those votes.
Yeah, and phase 1 voting ends today.
It's over. By the time this is out.
That's true. It will be by the time this episode.
Noon Eastern, so 9
it
o'clock
doesn't.
Pacific.
Yeah. So, yeah. Never mind. I don't even know what I'm talking about.
No, apparently not.
Yeah, phase 1 ends today at noon Eastern time, and it looks like Aaron Judge and Bryce Harper, as you mentioned, will automatically get their starting spots, and then the leading vote getter in each league during phase 1 will receive an automatic spot in their team's starting lineup. And then beyond those 2 players, the top 2 vote getters at every position and the top 6 outfielders will advance to phase 2 of the voting, which begins Sunday. And you can vote every single day. 5 times.
5 times.
Yes.
So I did that. I didn't do it every day, but I did vote. And, I didn't vote like a homer. I didn't just go through like it used to be. You go to the ballpark and they give you the punch out card.
Yes.
And then and I was just reading about that where people are like, I like for going to Dodger Stadium when they'd give you the punch out cards, and all the Dodgers that were on there were all punched out.
Yes.
And then you figured out your American League players.
Yeah, I do. I have voted obviously for some Dodgers that I feel are worthy of that going. And the same thing with the American League. So it's not like, you go through and just vote for your team. You can do that if that's what you want to do.
Well, typically I will do maybe one of those where I do just just my team. But
right.
The problem is that like now, Mookie I think he's leading the shortstops, but he's not going to play.
Right.
So even though I know he's not going to play and they'll put somebody else in his spot, I just rather not vote for him.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's not that I would vote for Max Muncy as being but he has been good this year, but he's on the IL. So, and he's 4th in the voting for third baseman at this point. So, yeah, I mean, you have to look at that. The one thing that is crazy to me is in the NL, the number 1 vote getter for outfielders, Jerickson Profar. I mean, what?
How?
I don't get that. And then, so it's Profar, and then Christian Yelich, Fernando Tatis Jr., Teoscar Hernandez, and then Brandon Marsh. And Teoscar Hernandez should be number 1.
Right.
So,
well, I will say this.
Or 2.
Teoscar Hernandez, I voted consistently.
Yes, me too.
And I voted for Brandon Marsh consistently. So those 2. And then I think I voted for Jason Hayward most of the time. But yeah, there's no way I'm voting for Jerickson Profar.
Absolutely not. No way.
I just, why that push? How did he get there?
If you're listening, and you're filling out and don't vote. We don't want to see Profar at the All-Star game.
Exactly. Do not vote for Jerickson Profar.
We don't want to see him.
Don't do it. It's a bad choice.
Yeah, and then of course for the DH, I mean, it's a crazy blowout. Shohei Ohtani has 1.7 million votes. The closest is Marcell Ozuna at 940,000
right.
plus.
And he's been, I mean, not to take away from him, he's been all-star worthy.
Yeah.
But and then in the AL, who was in? Trying to remember who's leading the AL for DH.
Yordan Alvarez.
That's right. Yordan Alvarez. I've been voting consistently for Kevin Pillar because that's where he's at. And then for third base in the American League, that's where they put Luis Rengifo So I've been voting for those. Those are the only 2 homer jobs that I've done. I think on one of them, because you can vote the five times.
Yeah.
On one, I voted for Ohapi. But for the most part, I think Rutschman is the all-star catcher that, I most believe in.
Yeah. And I have been voting for Will Smith consistently for catcher in the National League because I feel like he is overlooked throughout the league as, somebody that, and he is number 3 in the voting. But you've got William Contreras of the Brewers at number 1, but JT Realmuto at number 2, and he's not going to play because he just had surgery.
Right. He's out for a while.
Be thoughtful about your votes. Know who's on the IL. Don't vote for them because they're not going to be there anyway. Somebody else will take their spot.
Right. They're not going to be able to play. I want to see that. I mean, I get that it's still an honor for them to get there and somebody else is going to get a chance. But if you want it to be your choice in your vote,
right,
then you got to vote for somebody other than those guys.
Exactly.
All right, that's going to do it for this edition of the Sibling Rivalry Baseball Podcast. Remember, you can find us online at our social media pages, Twitter, Sibling Rivalry BB without the A.
And on Facebook and Instagram at Sibling Rivalry BB with the A.
And on our website, siblingrivalrybb.com. Hit the Fanatics link and you're able to find all your favorite gear, including the 4th of July caps, the All-Star caps, which we didn't really get into detail about. Maybe we'll talk about those next week as we're getting closer to the All-Star game. We got plenty to say about those. I don't know if there's any more City Connects coming out between now and then. And then I know there's still some more to come out, but maybe they're coming out second half of the season. We are going to the All-Star game. You could still give us a hand by also donating to the Ko-fi. Hit the Ko-fi link and donating to the show. We'd be happy to have your support in our travels. And next week we'll talk more about what's going on as far as the All-Star game goes. We'll see if the Dodgers, these changes that they've had to make, are they still positive changes? Is what's happening there? Are the Angels still doing the same thing, or are these meetings really starting to fully take hold? And we got a bunch of other stuff coming up in the weeks ahead. Like I said, we're going to the All-Star game, so we'll talk about that before we go, and of course once we've come back, and tell you what to look for while we're there. Check out some live baseball. It's on every night somewhere on your TV. It's live at your Little League fields, So go check it out. Enjoy some baseball, and don't forget to swing away.